Trump voters voted for him. Hello and welcome everybody. We have got quite the full program today, as they say. A lot on the plate. So we are joined, of course, as usual, by CQC on this fine Sunday afternoon. I was just contemplating, since we last streamed, we everything has happened. Like everything has happened since we last streamed. It's kind of been insane. Trump has just gone, full insanity with executive orders. We've got a little Wikipedia here, just kind of summarizing vaguely, I'm doing a rough summary of what he has done. It lists them by title, which is annoying to me. So there's some of these we might kind of have to sort of think about for a minute in order to to recall what it is specifically. So like, for example, this initial one, which is initial rescissions, I assume that's what that is, of harmful executive orders and actions. So that's basically reversing all of Biden's executive orders that were active at the time of Trump being inaugurated, and actions. I don't know what all this includes, but this is going to be a number of things. I assume this included unless it's listed separately, that might have included the Medicaid thing. Unless it's listed somewhere else down in here, but we'll find out. We're just gonna quickly hit on some of these. So, my God, restoring freedom of speech and ending federal censorship. I would bet that was TikTok. Ending federal censorship. I don't know about that. Weaponization of the federal government. That's an interesting one. Full text. Man, we might have to literally
read it. Yep.
I might have to in order to really understand. The previous administration engaged in a systematic campaign against its perceived political opponents, weaponizing the legal force of numerous law enforcement agencies and the intelligence community against those perceived political opponents in the form of investigations, prosecutions, civil enforcement actions, and other related actions. This shit just makes me so mad to see it. Because while I've never, as many people as we hear from on the right, as the video content that we watch of people on the right, I've never seen anybody explicitly lay out the things that Joe Biden or his administration have said or done that fall under this, a systematic campaign against political opponents. I've never witnessed a right winger be able to present evidence of this. And this includes the major pundits, right? Like this includes Charlie Kirk. This includes, Elon himself. Like they love to cry wolf when it comes to political persecution, but they don't have any evidence for it. And what to just sort of define what they would be alleging, and obviously they haven't been specific with their allegations on all these, but what they're alleging is would play out something like this: Joe Biden calling Merrick Garland into his office, sitting him down and being like, listen, we need to take down Trump. We need to go after Trump. He's got to go, or something like that. That would be what they're alleging happened. You know who does do that is Donald Trump. So this is just it's so many of these are classic. It's just classic like projection, which is something that the right wing and especially MAGA are extremely good at doing. So the rescissions of harmful EOs. Okay, so here we go. Advancing racial equity. So this is like a lot of the DEI stuff. COVID-19 response. That a lot of these EOs are just, it's just, imagine if it's been a Trump talking point in the last 4 years or so, it's probably been framed somehow into an executive order. Here's the TikTok one. I didn't see it mentioned explicitly. So there's the TikTok one that stays the TikTok ban for 90 days while they try to find a buyer. Who knows what the app is going to look like after that. Speaking of TikTok, CQC, I know I've probably sent you videos of, and you've probably just seen them in your FYP because she's great. But Cannon's fodder, Kathy Cannon, you're familiar?
Yeah.
As of, I think today, she is following me on TikTok.
Hey,
she
look at
is
that.
following me. Hey, I know, right? Like, so even though I don't post a goddamn thing to TikTok, maybe I will have to now.
She likes your repost.
I'm guessing reposts. Yes, probably reposts. And like I've been interacting with some of her stuff. Like I had a response to somebody in her she had a Blue Sky post the other day where she referenced a TikTok post that she made, like linked it, and someone made a response to it where I was like, I don't fully agree with that. So I kind of, chimed in there and just voiced my opinion. Kathy had responded or had responded to what I said, as well as what the other person said, and liked my response, liked the other person's response. They were engaging in fair discussion. It's just that it was a discussion of being what Kathy described as being a soft place to land if you have any MAGA people in your life, like friends or family members who are, if, and it's not to say that they will, but it's if they somehow see the light, if they are like, oh my God, I have been
What
duped.
have I done?
He promised, improving of grocery prices. Now I'm seeing the price of avocados. We just got some breaking news. Speaking of which, we just got some breaking news that the first, and I it wasn't on my bingo card in terms of which country, but it's definitely a country that Trump has conveyed frustration and anger towards before. The nation of Colombia has refused apparently 2 flights that the Trump admin has sent down to Colombia. The Colombian government has refused to allow those planes to land there full of migrants. So, of course, Trump didn't clear this with the Colombian government first. Shocker. Very classic
Dumbass.
Trump move of not making sure that they would even take these. So they've got I don't know how long ago this was. So, but presumably for some time, there were 2 planes circling over somewhere in South America with migrants on them who've been just swept up by ice. Oh my God, what a fucking shit show. Just hilarious and in such a disgustingly awful way. But because the Colombian government has, I should just go look for the Truth Social post, I guess. Where did I fucking see that, man? It might have been on my Blue Sky, but Trump, Colombia. But we're getting the first country to get just random massive tariffs. It's happened. It's happening. He's issuing emergency 25% tariffs against Colombia. I hope they just include the Truth Social post. Just show us the fucking CNN. This is why no one watches anymore.
Dude, it's gonna hurt us more than it's gonna hurt them. What's he doing?
Yeah. No, you're right. Is anybody else just snapping the Truth Social post? Holy shit! You write like a fucking 9-paragraph or more article on it
About
in like
tariff.
New York Times, but you're not gonna include the fucking. Come on, Associated Press, help me out here. Help me out. Help me out. Maybe they'll at least tweet. They'll at least quote it. Oh my god, I would probably scroll through these too fast, to be honest with you. All right. Trump, Colombia.
Glenna recently stopped drinking coffee.
Oh, yeah. Well, as I found out recently, I'm more of an Arabica fan, so
Oh, okay,
yeah. It turns out, I'll probably be okay in terms of the coffee I buy and drink, but really wanted to just find the Truth Social post because he's hitting them with more than just tariffs. It's kind of crazy. Come on, Reuters. Okay.
Oh, go back up. Oh wait, no, you good. Yeah. I thought I saw like. Oh yeah.
I know. I'm with you. I'll see something that's like linked, and I'm like, oh, no, it's not right. Okay. Man, that's so irritating. Maybe there's something where they don't. Maybe they don't want to reference Truth Social because of, I don't know. But it's a 25% emergency tariff. So Trump wrote on Truth Social that the refusal by Colombian President Petro to accept the flights jeopardized U.S. national security. Of course, he would claim that. The retaliatory measures include imposing 25% tariffs on all Colombian goods coming to the United States, which will go up to 50% in 1 week. It also includes a travel ban and visa revocations. So he's revoking visas on Colombian government officials. So there might be Colombian government officials at, like, say, a Colombian embassy here in the United States. Their visas are all being revoked, and they're probably going to get deported as a result, which is super fucked up. And he said these measures are just the beginning. We will not allow the Colombian government to violate its legal obligations with regard to the acceptance and return of the criminals they forced into the U.S.
Did it say sanctions up there?
I don't think I
go up. Go back up.
Oh yeah, you're right. Banking and financial sanctions. You're correct.
Well, yep. I hope people like sanctions because
I mean, they're going to turn them right back on to us, and any allies of Colombia may very well do the same.
Well, the international community is not going to like that, so we're probably going to get sanctions probably from European allies, possibly. So I hope people enjoy this. This is going to fuck us so fucking hard.
Yeah, and like that's Colombia, is not as big of a trade partner as like Canada or Mexico. So if the same things or if similar measures are taken against those nations, like we're going to be in for some real hurt really fast. It's going to be nuts.
Dude, there's going to be people not be able to buy food if they keep on going on this trend.
I keep sort of wondering what sort of like goods, like goods that are produced, I keep wondering what's going to suddenly become a seasonal item. Like our avocado is going to suddenly have a season now. Instead of being able to be purchased year round, are they going to suddenly have a season because we're not going to be importing at certain times of year because of these stupid fucking tariffs? Assuming he tariffs Mexico, he has not yet, to my knowledge.
$6 for a fucking avocado, goddammit.
It's already expensive. Yeah, it's going to be. Imagine, like $11 for like one avocado, and like that. People aren't gonna be bitching about that. I told you about someone in my circle who I just found out is like pretty diehard MAGA. I knew they voted for Trump, but I didn't know that they were like diehard MAGA. Frequently when they have extra, like if I meet up with them or whatever, when they have extra avocados, they'll usually give me 1 or 2 avocados if they just have too many, which I'm like, hey, cool, great. I like avocados. I'll but like I'm getting these for free. So I know this person is going to one day, they're going to be at the fucking grocery store. They're going to see that the price of those is skyrocketed. They'll be like, what the fuck is happening? And it's going to be like, you don't know? You don't know?
Yeah. Clearly fucking obvious.
So yeah, I look forward to that revelation whenever that occurs. But I mean, we got a lot of EOs. We got pulled from the World Health Organization, the Paris Climate Accords. I think that the EOs are pretty egregious. He tried to end birthright citizenship, which is absurd. I think that's what this one probably was. I want to say. Oh no! This is the one against DEI. This is the DEI one. I was looking at that merit based, and I was thinking of their opinions on immigration. He's declassifying these records, which is interesting. I don't think we're going to learn anything new from the Kennedy assassinations. The killing of Martin Luther King Jr. We've known it was the FBI that killed King for a long time. Fucking J. Edgar Hoover, that man was nuts. We'll see if Kash Patel's more crazy.
Might be.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the rough list. I mean, there's really so much for us to cover. But like I think we covered last time. I think we showed the Elon Musk salute. Elon Musk, it's so obvious, everybody. Like, there's an easy argument against that. Anybody who tries to say, oh, he didn't know what he was doing, he's autistic, man, give him a break. Doesn't mean he's dumb. Doesn't mean he doesn't know what the fuck a Nazi salute is. That's so ridiculous.
Dude, I'm on the fucking spectrum. I don't do that shit. Chill the fuck out.
Right, exactly. Like, it's insanity to use that as justification. Or like, if you try to say it's the Roman salute, it was the Roman salute when Benito Mussolini started using it in fascist Italy, and then the Nazis started using it too. But they did a slight variation of it. The Nazis did, but all of those salutes derived from the Roman salute. Period. End of. Right. So Musk doing it twice in a row, both to the crowd that he was facing, that was facing the podium, and the crowd that was behind him. Doing it like that, he knew what the fuck he was doing. And way I phrase it is this, is that, some people are trying to make it an argument of like, well, hey, look, there's all this other evidence that Elon Musk isn't really a Nazi. And you know what? Just for the sake of the argument, I will grant them that. I'll say, okay, sure, fine. Maybe he's not a real Nazi, but I think that this accomplishes two things for him and the Trump administration. What does it do? One, it triggers people on the left because we fucking hate Nazis, right? So obviously it's gonna cause a hell of a reaction on the left. These guys, they love triggering the libs. That's what they live for, right? So I don't think it's any surprise that Elon Musk would do something like that. The other thing it accomplishes is that it's a dog whistle. It's to the people who are Nazi sympathizers or are just straight up Nazis, whatever you want to call them. I think Nazi sympathizers are also Nazis, but whatever they want to say they are. So you don't pull the trigger, but you're okay with it happening. Got it. Anybody like that, it's telling them, we think you're cool. We think you're okay. And they don't need to see or hear him make any other statement other than seeing him do it. So the big argument, the one argument that always wins these debates, that is always going to win these debates, if you're at work this week and you happen to see or hear somebody trying to blame or justify it, say, okay, you know what? Next time you're at your kid's basketball game, do the salute. See what happens. Next time you're at work and you greet your boss, do the salute. If your heart goes out to him, say that and do the salute. See what fucking happens. See what happens.
Oh, don't be surprised if you get decked in the fucking face for it.
Well, right. Or obviously, at the very least, you're going to get fired from your job. You're going to get kicked out of your kid's basketball game. Why do those things happen when you do that salute? Maybe it's because people don't like it. Maybe it's because it's really bad. Maybe it's because it's not just anti-Semitic. Maybe it's you're saying maybe it's because you're tacitly saying you supported the Holocaust. Like, it's just so dumb. The idea of defending it in any capacity is just insane to me. I don't see how it's so hard. Even if you're on the right wing, even if you still support Elon Musk being a part of Doge, even if you still support President Trump, it is so hard for me to understand why you can't just go, you know what? Yeah, it's wrong. He shouldn't have done it. I don't like that he did it. And he should pay a price for it. How is it so hard to just say that and own it? right? Even if you're still on their team, so to speak. I think the defense of it says a lot about an individual defending it. So anybody who's like vehemently defending Elon Musk's use of that salute, keep a close eye on them, because they'll be the ones doing the funky march and the salute next. You watch.
If you're defending it, just admit you're a closeted racist. Just admit it.
Yeah.
Like, you hate black people. Just admit it.
You hate all sorts of people. That's
the case. You hate anybody that is not white.
Right. Pretty much. So right. It's like you got to cut. Yeah. You kind of got to cut to the end of that in order to understand. You peel back the layers is what you do. You peel back the layers. If we were to have that conversation and I watch this person continuously move the goalposts for Elon or for that salute, whichever it is they're trying to really defend, the further you keep pushing, the more layers you peel back, the more it's going to be like, well, why did you feel anybody deserved XYZ or whatever? You're going to get to where they say some heinous, awful shit. That's what you're going to find. So, anyway, I mean, there's so much that happened this week that's insane, not worth defending. I mean, we covered the EOs, we covered Elon Musk's salute. There is, before I get into this TikTok video from Jess Craven, who's a great creator as well, doesn't get these like big multi-million view videos very often. She tends to I think she's a teacher. I tend to find that the people I find on like social media who are the most wise and have the best, most accurate like history lessons and who can kind of draw a line from like Reaganism to Trumpism and all that, to MAGA, connecting all those dots by using history. The people who are best doing that on TikTok are teachers. So we'll watch this Jess Craven video in a minute. I did want to say something just real quick. Not that we affiliate with or orbit or anything like that, just because on this politics stream, we have watched a couple of Destiny videos. We've talked about Destiny. I will say just so that there's a statement out there, that if anybody were to ever, not that it would be, but if anybody were to ever have a question on how we feel about Destiny now, CQC, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but as I've been learning recently about this like revenge porn thing that he's now caught up in, where it sounds like just to summarize, it sounds like a few years back, like about 3 years ago ish, Destiny had nude photos, maybe videos, from somebody else that he was another creator who he was involved in a relationship with. He shared those videos with somebody who, whether they did it at his direction or his desire or not, they distributed these photos and videos en masse. So Destiny's essentially caught up in like this sort of like revenge porn controversy with a creator named Pixie. That's who's been exposed in all this. The little bit I know about it is it sounds like Destiny didn't intend for the photos or for this stuff to get out there abroad. He sounds like he regrets sending it and is trying to offer whatever he can to assist. And acknowledging that he can't reverse the actions that have been taken. It's like, if you're in a relationship with somebody and they trust you with something like a nude photo or video, and it sounds like this may have even gone beyond that. It sounds like he may have actually recorded this person without their consent, potentially. Obviously, that's a big fucking no-no if he's gotten to that point. It sounds like there may be a civil suit developing, so we're going to learn more through what comes out of that. But for now, I'm not planning on including or covering any more Destiny content. It sounds like he's stepping away from streaming and doing content for a little bit. The way Hutch was talking about it is he seems to recognize a pattern of destructive behavior from Destiny. Destiny he was poised to be in this amazing position in the new Trump era to be to potentially sort of become like the new Joe Rogan of the left kind of thing, right? Where he was poised to become this enormous creator who had all these connections. He was already interviewing people who are vying for the Democratic national chair position. He was getting big, and then this comes out, and it's like, man, like to me, it's like if you're if you're looking really poised to be successful and you do something kind of dumb like that, it's like, man, what are you doing? What are you fucking doing?
Yeah.
So now there's a bit of a void, a bit of a vacuum. We'll see if somebody else captures that, or if, I don't want to rule out redemption, right? I don't know a lot about what he's been doing in the last 3 years. Maybe this is something he regretted in the time, and it didn't become public till now, and he's already a different person. How he responds is kind of what'll gauge what's going to happen with his future in terms of content. So, but I just wanted to briefly say, obviously I would not support or defend Destiny's actions on this. I really like his mind for politics and his instinct for these things. And, if he responds to this really well, and if after the civil suit, if all parties involved feel like they've been indemnified, as adequately as possible, and everybody feels that they can move on and be healthier and be better from it, then yeah, there's probably a redeemable future for Destiny, in which case we would cover content again at that point in the future. But for now, even if he's got a great banger of a video that comes out, not going to be on this channel, just, till we kind of see how things look. And I think that's just good on principle.
Yep.
I like a lot of things about the guy in terms of his political takes, but like, if you're going to do that to other people, I think it's right that there be a consequence, and we're about to find out what that is. So, anyway, did you have any thoughts on that? Or are you good for Jessica's video here?
No, I agree with everything you said there. I mean, that doesn't stand for my morals. So
yeah, and that's what's different about us on the left, right? Is that we don't have this unwavering loyalty to human beings, to where when some stuff comes out that turns out they may have done a bad thing, we're like, hey, that doesn't pass my litmus test. It doesn't matter how good someone was. It doesn't matter how, if we had if the Democratic nominee for 2024 wasn't Kamala Harris, let's say it was somebody else who had a huge controversy come out, and it looked very true, that they were doing some awful shit. The Democrat voters, we do not continue to go out and vote for that person in November. I think the party would nominate somebody new and shit like that. I mean, God, Joe Biden did nothing wrong except just being too damn old, and we replaced him. Like, come on. Yeah. So, we're loyalty to humans, to other humans. Absolute loyalty is idiotic. It's foolish. It's how you get cult of personality, things like that. Democrats are not about that. So anyway. Just had a good video here about
since so many Trump voters voted for him without really understanding what his policies were or what would actually happen, I thought every week or two I would circle back and find out, like, how you feeling about how things are going so far? So we're about a week into Trump, and just curious, how you feeling, guys? I'm going to talk about just a couple of the top lines from the last 4 days and see if you're feeling optimistic about where our country is headed now that you made the choice that you made. And this is just going to be the smallest sampling, just a little taste. Start with the fact that Trump commuted the sentences or pardoned 1,500 people who attended the January 6th insurrection. Many of them were extremely violent and attacked police officers horribly. Just curious, first of all, how you feel about that? You good with that? Especially considering that now all of these violent criminals are roaming the streets, where they will commit more violent crimes. Hopefully not against someone you love, but you never know. Mass deportations are about to start, and Trump has told ICE that they can raid schools and churches, among other places. Are you good with that? Trump has reversed Biden's executive order that lowered drug prices for millions of people on Medicare. Does that make you happy? He's pulled us out of the Paris Accord, and he's reversing every single climate provision that he can. He's not doing that because he doesn't believe in climate change. He's doing it because fossil fuel industries have purchased him. So your well-being, not as important as theirs. He signed executive orders that will gut education programs, freezing funding that was already supposed to be fully allocated for projects related to the Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Act. Do you know what that means? It means bridges and tunnels and roads won't be built, airports won't be improved, and people who had jobs, who were manufacturing things, are going to have those jobs yanked out from under them. Remember the Office of Gun Violence Prevention that Biden finally opened that was such a victory? Well, Trump has shut that down. He's sending 1,500 active military troops down to our border. We have troops at our border now. The White House webpage for the Constitution is gone. There is a 404 error page there. Also,
they brought that back up,
all communications to the public from the White House in Spanish.
Oops. I thought it would keep going, man. I was just trying to see if it came back. Oops, not Great Britain. Where am I going? I didn't fuck that. Excuse me, I didn't fuck that up. Constitution. I am fucking it up. Constitution. USA. Let's work smarter, not harder here. .gov. Wow, yeah. I mean, is that the URL she just said was constitution.gov?
I don't.
Constitution is gone. There is a 404 error page there. Also, all communications to
I thought you had it with the Senate.
Sending 1,500 active military troops down to our border. We have troops at our border now. The White House webpage for the Constitution is gone. There is a 404
the White House
error
webpage
page there. Also,
gotcha. White House Constitution. This is an EO, I think. This is an EO.
Yeah. Go back.
Oh, look at this. Obama White House. Bro, this might still be down. I think it's still down.
Is that the White House one?
The Senate page is still up, but yeah, that's what you talked about.
Just go to the White House website.
Oh, okay, yeah. WhiteHouse.gov. I regret everything. I regret everything. This is terrible. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god. I feel like it's a crypto website, dude.
What the fuck?
Wait, the administration, it has Melania? She's a part of the administration? Oh my god, this is disgusting. I can't believe I'm here.
Go to the menu up top left, yeah. Where's the documents at?
Dude.
They took it all down.
I think they did.
Oh my god.
They've like gutted the whole website, dude.
Yeah, they did. Go back to news. Pages. Wow. Okay.
Whew.
Dude,
wow.
Go to the search bar and just type Constitution.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah.
I didn't actually see the... Dude, they literally... It's like they nuked the website. Let's go to like page 6. They nuked the website!
This is funny.
Nothing exists on this webpage before January 20th.
This motherfucker definitely wants to terminate the Constitution. God damn it.
These people are trying to rewrite history. Like, no bullshit. Why?
It's still on the Senate and House website, so they can fuck off. So.
Yeah. Like, why? I don't understand why you would need to take that page down, right? Like,
yeah, there's no reason to take it down at all.
The whole point of the document is that it's super hard to change. So, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. All right.
Constitution
still down.
Is gone. There is a 404 error page there. Also, all communications to the public from the White House in Spanish gone. Farm workers are already not showing up to work, and this means that food prices are about to go up stratospherically. We already know that egg prices have gone up 37% this year. Guess what? That's mostly because of the avian flu. And guess what else? That's not going to get any better now, because Trump has also pulled us out of the WHO and directed all federal health agencies to pause.
Okay, who needs the WHO when you have ivermectin?
External communications. In other words, we will no longer get information about what's happening with the bird flu or any other sickness from the CDC or any other government institution were blacked out. Trump just said a few days ago he wants to get rid of FEMA, like completely. I could give you more, but literally there is not time on this video to list all of the things that Trump has done this week to attack the United States and its Constitution and its citizens. And I'm legitimately asking, how do you feel? Because if you feel like maybe this wasn't what you signed up for, I'm going to beg you to start paying attention to politics and use your vote for good. Because this is not the future any of us want, but when you vote without knowing what you're voting for, this is the future you'll get.
That was just a good like summary. You know, it's like a nice friendly approach in terms of like, hey, Trump people, how the fuck you feeling? Like, and then she just goes through some very real things that they've done, some very real things they're trying to do, some very real impacts that will come from those decisions. So, you know, so yeah, I'll pose the same question. Trump people, how do you feel? Do you think he's gonna be this like do you think he's going to be this dove, this anti-war president that you thought, or do you guys just not care and you're just so happy he won that you'll let them put the boot wherever they want to put it? I don't know.
I'm here for it right now. Like, let him keep fucking things up, and then when you're all fucking starving and whatnot because you can't afford groceries, let's see how you fucking feel. Because this is just getting fucking ridiculous.
Right.
I'm here for it. If it means I starve to death, at least this country's gonna fucking survive, because y'all people are gonna have to learn your lesson the goddamn hard way.
Yeah. Man, there's another TikTok video that was really inspiring that I should go get. All right, I wanted to see this. I got a doggy.
Have you seen it yet?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I've seen this. I actually want to.
I've watched it several times.
The sound of the plane's pretty nuts, honestly. But for the context, and you can tell me if you heard the same thing here. Apparently, Newsom was not invited by Trump to go greet him here. So Newsom took it on his own volition to be like, I'm gonna go get in that motherfucker's face. So would people try to love to talk about old Donnie Boy here as an alpha male, as a guy who knows how to stand on business and make a deal? Watch him get emasculated by a much more real man here. This is beautiful. I love it.
By the way, they're supposedly the same height, too.
Right. Supposedly.
Trump says he's 6'3". Yeah.
Yeah, supposedly. I mean, he is getting up there in years, so like naturally his spine has started to become a McDonald's French fry and he's just deteriorating. So
that's an insult to McDonald's French fries.
I mean, it's you are what you eat, and Trump eats a lot of that shit.
That man is a crinkle fry in the cafeteria in high school.
One of those that like got shoved into the corner, so it's like all a little floppy.
Yeah.
So Trump always tries to do this thing where he pulls someone back with a handshake. First off, I saw David Pakman show this. Perfectly straight posture from Newsom here. Trump is getting pulled into him because he's got some words for this man. Puts the hand in his chest.
Look, he tried Trump goes the back way. Look, Trump does take a step back.
He does. He tries
to take a step back. Oh man, he's kind of in my personal space. Let me back up and I'm gonna pull him a little bit more.
Puts the finger in his chest, saying, "You're gonna do your fucking job and take care of the people of California." Something Hutch was talking about the other day, because Hutch is in California. He was talking about how there are more Trump voters in the state of California than the entire populations of a ton of different red states. So Trump vocalizing that he's not going to send aid to California is him also saying that of Trump supporters, just to be clear. Pointing the finger in his chest too. And then this is the part I like the most, is he's like, "Oh, hey, Melania, how's it going?" And meanwhile, this man's like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, like, oh man,
I didn't know he was going to be here. That was so scary. This face says so much. This face says so much.
Dude, the fact that she just like let him kiss her, like doesn't even let Trump.
I mean, it's it's what these rich people do. They do the whole the kiss on the little fake air kiss on the cheek or whatever. I'm not gonna pause it. I just want to watch it all again. It was very, very good here. Very good.
That's how you do it, though. You just make him look like a bitch. Just make him look like a bitch. Step back. I'm gonna try to pull him in. Oh no, the tug of war. Oh, I won. I'm just like, nah, you ain't going anywhere. Come here.
Oh man, just standing on business.
Pull that weak ass man over here. Come here.
And I wanted you to notice, I wanted to point this out as well, because I just now noticed this. Look at this guy who gets ready to intercept. And he can't even fucking, he can't do anything about this. Like this, I mean, I'm not trying to say that this is like the everyman here. Gavin Newsom, I think, has had some issues with his leadership. I don't remember any specifics.
He's not perfect
but he's not been perfect. But when it comes to the safety of the people of California, when it comes to them having access to to financial support from the federal government, he doesn't fuck around. He does not fuck around. And he especially recognizes a fucking ignorant, childish bully. He's probably dealt with bullies like this. He probably was beating bullies up when he was a kid on the playground. So just absolutely excellent there. I thought that was really good.
Shit's fucking funny.
Very funny. Very funny. This is something that's been of concern to me. I don't think that this was done as an executive order per se. Maybe it was.
Yeah, the inspector general thing. Yeah.
This is bad.
Which he can't even do. Like the inspector generals are still there.
I understand, but it's there's I just don't know what the legal mechanisms look like for this. Obviously, I think that the what it seems like has happened is that hopefully these people are informed, and I would assume they're all informed enough, but hopefully these people are all they're loyal enough to their job, their duty, that they stayed on the job when this order was issued, that they stayed on the job when they were told that they were fired. I suspect
you got to give Congress a 30-day notice.
Exactly. I suspect that that's probably what happened, but it's the overreach. And I hear people talking about how Trump's in legal jeopardy because of this. It's like, I don't see him, especially with the Supreme Court ruling on immunity. I don't see him paying a legal price for this right away, if nothing else, but just for the action itself to be blocked, right? For the action itself to be blocked. And, I have a funny feeling that he's going to still be able to fire them, as long as they'll probably just force him to go through the proper process. Now, maybe I'm not educated enough on what that looks like. Maybe if he does go through the proper process, maybe Congress can with a simple majority vote, maybe they can full out block it. Maybe they can bring it to the floor for like a discussion, like a debate or something. I don't know.
What's crazy about this move is not even MAGA Republicans in Congress didn't like this.
Well,
so
I think they have to take that position, though, right? This, when it comes to what Republican senators or Republican Congress people like members of the House, when it comes to when they while Trump's in office, while Trump is doing things, when they say, "Oh no, this is a step too far. I don't like that he did this. This is wrong." I'm like, fucking bullshit. You're just opening your mouth. You are not doing anything in your power to stop it.
True.
If you really took an issue with this, you would do something to stop it. Mitch McConnell. So if they'll vocalize all they want. Oh, I don't support this. This isn't good. But like you got to do, to me, it's got to be more. You got to be more convincing than that. You know, you got to promise that you'll do everything in your power to make sure that that doesn't happen, or do everything in your power to make sure that it gets to the House floor for a debate and goes to a vote or something like that. I need to understand the legal mechanisms of this better, so maybe we can look into some of that. But I'm gonna let this Brian Tyler Cohen video play. I did watch this already, so I kind of got most of the gist of what he says. I think he also interviews somebody in here. Yeah, he talks to a guy. We'll hear his perspective here too. I'm going to go feed my dog, so I'm going to just kick this off and go do that real quick. It'll take but a moment.
This is Democracy Watch. Yep. Mark, we have some breaking news in the past 12 hours here. Donald Trump has fired 17 attorneys general in what a lot of media folks are calling a Friday night massacre. So first of all, is this legal?
No, it's not legal. The fact is that federal law protects inspectors general from arbitrary firing. It says that they can only be fired by the president for cause, and that cause has to be submitted to Congress, and there has to be a 30-day period. So in other words, President Trump would have to do the firing himself, not one of his underlings, which appears to have been the case here. But more importantly, he'd have to present a reason to Congress in advance, and of course they haven't done that. But that shouldn't surprise you, because Donald Trump is a lawless president. And Donald Trump and his administration want to be lawless. In other words, they could do it the other way, and Lord knows Republicans in Congress wouldn't have the spine or backbone to stand up to him. But he wants to force illegal and compromised processes from the get-go, because he wants to set that precedent that he can show that he can get away with anything, and that Republicans won't back him down. And look, that's why I connect this very much so to what we saw with Pete Hegseth. Right? Why did he lead with Pete Hegseth? Because he wants to show that he can make Republicans vote for anyone. If he can make them vote for Pete Hegseth, why did he fire this more than a dozen inspectors general? Because again, he wants to show that he's in charge, and that Republicans like Senator Grassley, who has proclaimed for years and years how he's the protector of inspector generals, that nobody's going to stand up to him.
So what's the recourse here? We know that what he did was illegal. We know that these people required 30 days notice. We know that it has to be done by Trump himself. And we know that he needs cause to have done this. And so what recourse do we have?
So I would assume that one or more of these purportedly fired, and I don't say fired because this is something Donald Trump has tried to do. It's like the birthright citizenship, right? Donald Trump doesn't have the power to do a birthright citizenship, so he can claim that he does, but he hasn't. Likewise, he can claim his administration can claim that these folks are fired, but they're not. I assume one of them will go to court and block this, and it'll be blocked.
So it's got to be done in the courts.
But once again, Donald Trump is doing these things as much to show that the Republican Party is toothless. The fact that the courts will then back him down on some of these things, that's good. And like, we shouldn't minimize the importance of that. And I've talked a lot about the importance of courts, but it should not obscure what is going on here, which is the absolute cowardice of the Republican Party, the absolute willingness of the Republican Party to go along with whatever illegal, unconventional, anti-American, whatever it is, they'll go along.
Right. They're basically showing, these people are basically showing, this is a test against them, really. I mean, the people who should be humiliated here, the people who are really being attacked here are not necessarily just the inspectors general. It is Donald Trump testing the fence to see where it's weakest. And he's proving, by virtue of these Republicans refusing to have any autonomy, which they should. I mean, they are a co-equal branch of government, but by virtue of them refusing to have their own autonomy, he's basically proving that he, whatever he wants to do, he'll be able to get one over on them, and they're not going to serve as a bulwark against him. Mark, in that case, even if the courts block them, is there a situation where Donald Trump can say that he has cause because of any reason, and he might relent and say, okay, I'll fire these people for cause, I'll give them the 30 days required, but then they have to be ousted from their positions. Who's the arbiter of whether or not the cause that he gives to fire them is valid?
Yeah, I think you raised the right next question. And I think we need to sort of brace ourselves for a few realities. The first is that it's almost certainly the number is going to increase. I mean, just honestly, between last night when this news broke and when we are recording, the number of fired IGs has increased significantly.
Right.
And I think that before all is said and done, we will find out that that number is even higher than what we are conservatively, you and I are talking about today. Because Donald Trump does want to test that fence, right? He does want to show it. And there's no reason why he would limit himself to just a dozen or a dozen and a half or even 2 dozen, right? There are 70 or so total inspectors general. And I suspect that this is either being done in waves or that not all of the inspector generals who have been fired have come public yet. But number one, I think we need to brace ourselves that this will be worse. Number two, I think we need to brace ourselves that this is not just going to be inspectors general, right? You and I have talked about Project 2025 and Schedule F and the desire by Donald Trump to replace large swaths of the nonpartisan independent parts of the federal government with political cronies. And so I think we need to be prepared that, again, this will not just be inspectors general, this will be other parts of the federal government that we expect to be nonpartisan and protected. Number 3, which is your direct question, he will manufacture cause. That is what authoritarians do. That is what wannabe dictators do, is that
100%.
They lie about people who are threats to their power. Now, sometimes they lie about those people in ways that are very obvious. Look at the lies that, unfortunately, he has told about public officials and the wildfires in California, where he has lied about everything from water availability to the roles of what people fighting the fires did to what government officials done. Right. We're used to those kinds of lies. What I think we are less ready for, but which we have to be ready, what we have to be prepared for, is him lying about individuals who he wants to remove or who he wants to tarnish, who may not be household names. Right? Like it may, Gavin Newsom, when he lies about Gavin Newsom, in some sense, like, okay, like we kind of like are used to that. But when he lies about an inspector general who none of us know and whose name is not familiar to people, we all need to be prepared to not believe those lies. Yeah. We need to start with the presumption that when he comes forward and says, here is the cause for firing these people, that it is nonsense, that is pretextual. And unfortunately, the legacy media will report it as, today Donald Trump fired this person for this reason.
Right, just basically acting as his stenographer.
Right.
Correct. And we cannot allow that to happen. We must all stand up and presume that when he lies about the cause for firing these inspector general or others, that it is pretextual, that it is a lie, and we need to start with a posture of disbelieving, not with a posture of believing.
Right.
You're not a child. You're a...
Yeah. So far, I really like what they're saying. What he's saying about this.
Yeah, he's just a fucking 5-year-old testing the parents' boundaries. That's all he's doing. Yes. Yeah, that's all he's doing. And the parents being the law. So he's just literally just testing the boundaries and seeing if anybody's going to stand up to him. That's all he's doing.
Yep.
That's literally all he's fucking doing.
Right.
And we, as the American people, need to fucking stand up to his dumb ass. So
yes. And they are. I really like that he implicates what the mainstream media is likely to do. So people who are maybe like center left, like Democrats, who are maybe a little on the older side. So maybe some of the center left people who are like baby boomers or Gen X, even some Gen Y, who may still consume predominantly mainstream media, they're going to get a very watered down version of what this is. And that's why it's the job of the alternative media spaces, like technically us, we're an alternative media. It's our job to be like, no, this isn't just a normal thing to fire inspectors general. Like, this is not normal. These people, inspectors general, serve as an unpartisan, unbiased guardrail for government agencies, and they make sure that there's nothing super illegal getting done. They make sure that people who are tasked with carrying out a job that's in favor of the federal government,
They
are
help keep
introducing
dictators away.
partisanship into it. Yeah, they help keep rather not dictators away, because the voters are supposed to be the guardrail for that, but that fucking failed this time around. So these are the people who are supposed to be the guardrails for seeing how deep a dictator can dig his fingers. So that's what he's trying to do now, is he's trying to see how much of this he can puppeteer by himself. And this is 100%. This is testing the fence, see where it's weakest. And I need to look up this guy's background, but like I really like the way he's capturing the ramifications here, like what could happen. So
what I was actually going to bring up, and I think underscoring the importance of that is the legacy media will not, has not, and has no intention to learn its lesson on that front. So for folks who are watching right now, to support media that is willing to engage in fearless journalism, is willing to hold power to account, please sign up for Democracy Docket. It's the news outlet Mark founded to focus on everything voting and elections. I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. Mark, I want to read.
Yeah, and I want to give you, just like not that it's picking on the Washington Post is easy these days, but as we are recording this, the Washington Post subheadline is "The dismissals appeared to violate federal law, which requires Congress to receive 30 days notice of any intent to fire a Senate confirmed inspector general." Okay. What is the word "appears" doing in that sentence, right?
Yes!
I mean, they state, as a matter of fact, that it requires Congress to receive 30 days notice. Congress did not receive 30 days notice, right? That's not a disputed, there's no disputed fact. So why is
the guy who has been in office for all of 6 days did not give 30 days notice?
Correct, right? So why is the legacy media hedging here?
Right.
Of all publications, the Washington Post, which made its national name by going after Richard Nixon, and the Saturday.
You know the slogan for the for WAPO? You know their like slogan on their website? Democracy dies in darkness. How disgusting! What Bezos has done to the Post. It's so bad.
Massacre, where Richard Nixon tried to fire people, is now hedging.
Yeah.
And how do you not read that, Brian, against the backdrop of a billionaire owner and a news publication and a broader legacy media system that wants to constantly be sort of holding out breadcrumbs for Donald Trump?
Yeah. Perfectly put. I want to read a tweet by Bill Kristol. He said, "The most straightforward pushback to IG firings would be a joint statement by, for example, McConnell, Grassley, Ernst, Collins, and Murkowski, saying that they won't vote to confirm any nominees until satisfied there will be oversight in the agencies." Can I have your reaction to that? And is your reaction going to be anything other than
amazing.
Would be nice, but these people very clearly just don't have the spine for it?
They don't have a spine. They don't have collectively a spine. If you took all of their, if you went into all of their spinal columns collectively and you like tried to cobble it together,
couldn't even cobble together one full spinal column from that.
One full spinal column. You might not be able to put together one vertebrae. I mean, just this is the point: is that Donald Trump is getting away with this because Republicans don't have a spine. And I know what some of your listeners are out there going to say. What about the Democrats? Democrats don't run the show. Democrats don't control the Senate. Democrats don't control the House. Democrats don't have power in the executive branch. This is up to the Republicans. I am sure that if those Republicans issued that statement, you'd get plenty of Democrats who would join them, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is that we cannot let Donald Trump do what he always does, which is get Democrats finger pointing between the left and the right and the center. We need to keep our focus on what is going on here, which is a Republican Party that is from top to bottom under his control, and a lack of courage among Republicans. And again, I'm going to say this, and I realize I am a broken record. There is a reason why Donald Trump appointed Kash Patel. There is a reason why he's appointed Tulsi Gabbard. There's a reason why he put Pete Hegseth at the front of the line. He wants to humiliate these Republicans because he knows that once they have voted for these folks, he will own them. Yes. They will not have a shred of dignity or standing left. And so that's why we're not going to see the statement that Bill Kristol suggests, and probably Bill Kristol knows that.
We'll leave it there. Of course, we'll stay on top of this. If we have any update on this,
Yeah, man, they really
he worded it perfectly.
pretty
Damn.
perfectly. Yeah, it's there's not a lot I can really add to that.
Yeah, taking away their dignity so he can just own them. Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing.
Right. I mean, my goodness, I think the argument could be made that he already kind of owns most of them. You know, you could argue that, like, I want to say it's Collins and Murkowski, like that they. I know Collins is a Republican, but she's a senator for the state of Maine, which is a predominantly blue state. So she's kind of got the Manchin paradigm going on, where she can resist what a lot of the Republicans feel or do, because she's getting, like, she probably pulls a decent amount of Democratic votes each election cycle. But, like, it's hard to say whether or not she could get primaried still, right? Like, I mean, they still have primary elections, I assume. So, like, I don't know. All it takes is for someone who's super duper loyal to Trump to challenge her in a primary in whatever her upcoming election is, and Trump and MAGA are just going to funnel all their cash to that. And now they've got Elon Musk, like, she would get primaried. So it's hard to say whether or not any Republicans will truly stand up. They're going to do these statements like we mentioned earlier. We're going to see statements from them like, oh, this was bad, the Mitch McConnell thing. But any real action or withholding votes, nah, forget about it. I just don't see them doing it. I see every single one of these people getting confirmed, and it's going to be up to the Democrats, who hopefully are going to win back the House in 2026. That's who's going to have to clean up this mess. I'm confident of. I pulled up this page. We could briefly go over it. Sorry, what go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, if voting is not going to be tampered with this coming election, because I think he's going to push the boundaries.
I think he's
really
going to try. I think he's going to try. Yeah. But my comfort is in that states, states decide how they conduct their elections. So
yeah,
that's my comfort. I don't think there's a lot he can change with the federal electoral process. I mean, we'll see, obviously, but I don't see them impacting it enough that we won't have, like, a normal free and fair election for the most part in 2028. Some states are going to be a lost cause. Like, if Georgia flipped back to Republicans this election cycle, Georgia's cooked. Georgia's not gonna, they're gonna do everything they can to suppress the Democratic vote in that state, and I fervently believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious, because let's say the Democrats take back the House, this coming midterms, and then they get, 2028 comes around, and they get the Senate too, and the presidency.
Yep.
Like, dude, I am going to be curious on what's going to happen, what kind of investigations are going to come out, because they're probably going to turn over all kinds of proof of them tampering with elections, and you might, there might be all kinds of crazy shit that would happen after that. But
yeah, I want to say that the one major thing that's preventing, say, a Democratic president from packing the courts is, like, a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate. So that would be to me an ideal goal. I think that's how we very quickly and very immediately can begin to right the wrongs of the Trump era. Is if, let's say, hypothetically, that Democrat in 2028 is so massively popular that they get an Obama-like victory. Obama in 2028 had the House, obviously the executive branch was pretty much under his control. And then you had the Senate, I think, went to 60-40 for the first time in a long time under Obama.
Damn.
They had a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate. They could have done more than they did, but I think that Obama and his team, they focused too much on being bipartisan, and they didn't. I think they underestimated just how petty the Republicans would be and how abusive to, like, rules and things like that they would be. a huge catalyst for these last 8-9 years, a massive catalyst is McConnell blocking the Supreme Court nomination from Obama. That was huge.
Yeah.
That was massively consequential. Just super
I think McConnell kind of regrets that now.
I don't know because like, you know, he's barely there, first off, so it's like, who knows.
Well, he's like the only one that like stands against Trump most of the time
on paper.
Yeah.
Where did he vote against Hegseth? I don't know how the vote
yeah he
went.
did
he okay
yeah
Senate, I saw it was 50-50, but vote Hegseth split. How each senator voted. So yeah, every single Democrat was like, fuck no. Fuck that guy. And 3 Republicans were also like, fuck no. So let's see. Let's just, God, I hate the way they organize this. So Murkowski was a no. That wasn't that. I don't think that one's that surprising. McConnell should be up here. Yes, he was a no. Wonder who else. Every other Republican just totally cucked.
Caved. Yeah, they just completely caved.
Murkowski,
Bunch of betas.
Yeah, literally, yes. Who was it? I missed it. Oh well.
I missed it too. God damn it. No, go away.
What was Collins? Was it Collins? Yes. Okay.
It might have been Collins. Yeah.
I'm like, wait, why should I should just look for the name of the most likely person? Jesus. Yeah. Okay. So it was Collins, Murkowski, and McConnell. So that's, hey, you know, McConnell did you know, he mustered up a little bit of backbone there for that. Good for him. It didn't mean a goddamn thing, but that's somehow
couldn't flip just one of your colleagues, you 3. You couldn't just flip one of them. Come on.
Right.
The
former Senate Majority Leader couldn't get a hold of someone and be like, hey, you shouldn't vote yes. Fuck this guy.
Yeah.
So
I can actually choose somebody real.
Yeah, right. Yes. Like literally, like pick. There's so many other people who could probably do that.
They're probably
more qualified.
You're a Trump Republican. It's actually qualified. Like, don't put one of his buddies in. Right. God.
Yeah. So, I pulled up this FAQ on the Inspector Generals. They're under the Department of Homeland Security, which I didn't know at first originally. That's kind of cool. But Inspector Generals, just because I wanted to give a background here to kind of like, you know, why it's important, because I really kind of I too was like, why, like, I get that that's probably bad if Congress are like looking at the facts, right? If Congress requires 30 days and a valid reason submitted by the president himself, it can't be like a staffer or whatever. That means this must be a big deal, is what my assumption was. If there's that many barriers in place for a president to just get rid of an inspector general, then surely they're important. And they conduct independent and objective audits and investigations relating to like this. This is at least in the whatchamacallit, the context of the DHS. But this is what inspector generals are going to be basically doing for pretty much any major agency of the government. So economy, efficiency, and effectiveness in the DHS. Prevent and detect waste, fraud, and abuse. Waste, fraud, and abuse is something I've heard Republicans throw around like they're not the biggest perpetrators of it, which is hilarious. Keep the DHS, so their respective agency and Congress, fully and currently informed about problems and deficiencies. So this is why Trump's trying to get rid of this, is because these people are independent. He wants people in these positions to be loyal to Trump, plain and simple. Who is the?
So he can do what he wants.
This is one of the people that Trump probably tried to fire. Is this Joseph Kafari, who, by the way, just so that we're clear, he was confirmed by the Senate in 2019 when who was president?
Trump.
Donald J. Trump. So Trump is just like with promising to fire Christopher Wray at the FBI. He once again is taking people that he once was like, this person's the best for the job. I always pick the best people. We're going to do a great job. They're going to do well. And then the second he finds out they're not like supremely loyal to him, it's like, they're terrible. I didn't know them very much. I didn't really like the guy. You know, he literally will flip on a dime, throw anybody under the bus that's not perfectly loyal to him. So
which means he'll throw you under the bus, you right-wing people that watch this.
Yes. Any time.
He don't give a fuck about you. He can throw you under the bus too.
If it means saving his own ass, yes, he will throw you right under that bus.
It is like
that's so crazy.
So, like I said, I caught some of this. This was just a wonderful conversation. You know, I like occasionally having some more, like, I guess you could say, positive content. You know, we definitely watch Republicans, we watch the Trump administration because it's, you know, I think it's a part of our diligence, right? It's sort of trying to serve as some sort of whistleblowing type of mechanism, some sort of speakerphone to whomever we can get in the US to watch our streams or our videos. The new video's doing better, by the way. I told you it would take some time for the algorithm to turn around. So obviously this hasn't set any records or, you know, it's not blowing YouTube up or anything like that. Right. But, you know, our first video, I think the only people who watched it was you and me. You know, it got 2 whole views. This one's up to like 11 or 12. So there's at least a couple of other people who have decided to check out the latest video on the Hegseth confirmation hearing.
Right.
So that's great. That makes me happy that more people were tuning into that, even though it's like a 2.5 hour video or something like that, than the video from previous. So that's good. And the YouTube content's going to keep coming. So if you come by the stream, come by the VOD, and you want to check out the YouTube, please do. I want to say the URL for the YouTube is, oops. I think it's @Ramification Bros, youtube.com/@Ramification Bros, but I'm going to verify. Yes. youtube.com/@Ramification Bros. I'm going to put it in the Twitch chat right now. And while I'm at it, you know, you'll get the Blue Sky too. I want to try and start using Blue Sky more as just sort of like a, just as a platform to just make quick comments, make quick statements about things going on. I know Blue Sky's a little bit more boring. It's still a boring app. I get it. But in all sincerity, I think it's only going to be a matter of time before they integrate similar features and whatnot to Twitter. To where it'll become just as useful, just as engaging as a platform like Twitter. So, but yeah, it's just nice to have these two talk and to hear them talk. And, you know, there's a chance that you know, like in I don't know what'll have to happen, but there's a chance that we see like some weird 2028 ticket where it's like Stewart Cortez or something like that, 2028. That could be epic. I don't know. I would much rather her just be the president, to tell you the truth. I would actually bet that this guy feels exactly the same. I don't think. I love John, and I think John is passionate about so many things, but I don't think he wants to be president. He strikes me as the type of guy where it's like, hey, you know, it sounds like you'd be good for the nomination of Democrat. If, like, let's say this is his publicist being like, hey, I'm looking at polling and you're very popular, my guy. If you ran on, you know, on the Democratic ticket, if you ran a primary, you have a good chance of winning. I feel like he would be like, are you kidding me? I don't want to be fucking president, dude. That sounds terrible. Like, I think he's much more comfortable doing what he does.
Usually people that don't want a leadership role turn out to be the best leaders. So.
I know. I understand that too. Leaders are chosen in some contexts. And, he might be the guy that we pick, and I think if he ever got a nomination, I feel like he might be the guy that's like, well, this is what I'm clearly called to, and just accept it. But I don't think he would even run for a primary, because he would just rather not have his name in the hat to begin with. But we'll go ahead and get into this. They're going to tell us a little bit at the beginning about what these two talk about, but this was a good talk. I liked it. I'm not going to speed it up, just because when I was editing, I noticed like, oh man, like when you and I paused to like talk about the video, we're obviously talking at the speed that we talk. So I think if a person was watching this and they wanted to hear everybody at like 1.5 or 2 times speed, that way they're not accidentally taking these two to like 3 times speed. You know what I mean? If I'm already speeding these two up, it just makes for a worse video on YouTube. So we'll go ahead and jump in.
It is
that's so crazy.
It's crazy.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. I came out of my seat on that one. I was so excited to be speaking with you. Welcome to the weekly show pod. We are recording this on the Tuesday following the inauguration of the 47th president of the United States, also the 45th president of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump. Our guest today will be Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm excited to talk to her because shit is changing by the millisecond. Executive orders are flying. Oligarchs are tweeting. It's all happening. Everything that was done in this previous administration has been repealed. The Gulf of Mexico is now the Gulf of America. Canada is now officially classified as our hat. I don't know what's changing. Everything. We're not in the climate accord. America has announced itself as we don't give a fuck. The mountains have different names. I don't even know what I'm looking at on a map. I feel like it's one of those, when you get one of those maps from like when England would just go in and just redraw, like, okay, that country doesn't exist anymore. I'm just going to call that, I don't know, Lebanon. Why don't we do that? Here's Syria, and draw a little line. And I don't know. It's going to take weeks to just parse just what the rules are. And any more about gravity is still in effect, I believe. Or
tell Trump to go fuck himself. It's still the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
I don't quite know. You're apparently now allowed to shit in the water. Like, I don't know. It's all a blur. Everything that we thought we knew about the infrastructure and what to call America's back, baby. We're back. Not just as a country and a family of nations, but as the nation. We win, you lose. Biatch.
He is.
I don't know if that's whatever that translates to in Latin.
He's like intentionally cringe.
That is the new
sometimes, like
motto of the United States of America, and I'm excited to talk to a person today that I think provides a modicum of hope, a level of fight and of ideology that I think, boy, needs to be injected into this moribund party more than ever. So I am just going to jump on in and introduce our guest for today's podcast.
I could have skipped to that.
All right, so we are going to get to our guest. We're very excited. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, welcome. You are the Congresswoman for New York's 14th District, the fighting 14th.
That's right. Thanks for having me.
700,000 strong, the Bronx and Queens. And
I guess I should ask you, so I think for the sake of this, I don't think I need captions just because like I'm so engaged with it. It's not like I'm doing other stuff at the same time, like texting or whatever. Do you prefer to have the subs? I don't think it matters too much.
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
I thank you so much for taking the time. How was your day yesterday? What did you do?
I kept my ass at home and
inside.
Inside.
Did you watch the proceedings Or did you try and avoid everything?
I watched his speech, and I watched them not be able to turn on the music for Carrie Underwood.
I felt so bad for her. She's just standing there,
Yeah.
and they're like, "We're going to be the administration of competence. We're going to make everything work again except the PA." That
Yeah, I was like, we are off to a great start here. But I watched his remarks and leading up to it, and then I was out. I was like, all right, I've seen enough.
And nothing surprising. Was it strange to you? One thing that struck me was sort of this sense that the Bidens or the Democrats wanted to preserve this decorum. It was I have to say, it was such a surreal scene to see someone who had attempted what.
They're going to talk about this. I just gotta share some thoughts on this for a minute. Like, okay. I get what they're saying, and they kind of toe the line that I'm about to toe as well. But I just got to get my words out there on this. Like, I think that for in the interest of the peaceful transfer of power, I think like the Bidens, I think Jill and Joe Biden, I think that it is their responsibility to pass the torch nicely and to show to have a bit of a display of class and decorum. And that's only because they're the outgoing administration. I think it is in their court. It is their responsibility as a part of the outgoing administration to sort of set the example. They are saying, yes, we recognize that the American people voted for this guy that we don't like. Yes, we called him yes, we called him a fascist. Yes, we called him the next Hitler. All of those things are still true, but they recognize that he won the election. He won the election fair and square, as much as we and them probably hate that. But they recognize that that's what the American people have chosen. And since this was a popular vote victory as well for the Trump administration, you can argue it's literally, we're doing this in the interest of giving the American people what they've said they wanted, regardless of what factors led to them making the voting for the reasons that they voted for him. I think that that's responsible. But I think that if you look at like Michelle Obama didn't attend, but Barack did. I think if Barack had skipped out, that would have been perfectly acceptable. I think anybody who's not in the previous administration not showing up, I think that is a valid form of protest, that you are saying, yes, I understand that I was a president. Yes, I understand Fox News is going to run away with it and be like, Obama didn't show up. Clinton didn't show up, whatever. But those guys were all there, right? And W was there. George W. Bush was there. Like,
I think it says a lot if like a Bush or Obama doesn't show up. One, because Bush was the previous Republican president that all these MAGA people have voted for before.
Right. They hate him. The MAGA people hate his guts.
Yeah. Well, because he plunged the economy into a recession, right?
They hate him for a lot of reasons. I bet you they would call him a rhino by today's standards, for real.
Probably, yeah. But whether they can say what they want about Obama is probably the best president of our generation so far.
Yeah, so far, for sure.
They can say whatever they want, but they still will acknowledge, okay, yeah, he was a good president. He pulled us out of the recession. He got the economy back going. They can't argue that, and as much as they want to.
I think you're right about voters. I think that the Republican establishment and now Trump, like he will never give Obama a win. He will never claim that anything Obama did was good, because Trump rose in popularity because of his opposition to Obama. Before he was even, before the 2015 escalator fucking stunt that got him, into the race kind of thing.
Yeah. But I think with them if those kind of people don't show up, it says a lot about Trump. And I think that's important that those kind of people protest by not showing up.
Right. Like I love Obama too, but like him sitting there in the pews in the pew or whatever next to Trump and like just that was at Carter's funeral. I know. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm mixing up my things. But like him being there at the inauguration and like, you know, being as, you know, not being there like to let off a stink bomb in the place or something like it. Not being there to fucking somehow like make a statement that's like, I don't support this it's a little like, man, it's not the best look. And it's too easy for the people on the right to say that it's anything other than is. It's just him being, you know, it's him showing what we would call like governmental professionalism. It's him going with what traditions dictate you do. It's just the thing to do. Not that these times are different and you should do something different. Just this is the thing to do. I don't care.
I think Democrats also need to realize that Republicans don't care about professionalism anymore because they're not professional.
No, I agree with you. It's just so,
we got to start playing their game, whether we want to or not. I mean, it's the fact of the matter. We need to play their game. We have to, show that we have a spine. Honestly, I think we might even need to throw a few fucking F-bombs at them just so we can.
AOC's our gal. AOC's our gal because she takes the filter off for this show.
Yeah, I think it's time for that. I think it's done. If Trump wants to take it to this level, let's knock it up a notch. Let's show them that we are the ones that don't give a fuck. So like, I think it's time for that.
It's like they talk about like, you know, like, hey, we understand the reasons for it probably, but like it is admittedly not the best look, and I kind of agree with that. But I don't know, I like the way they elaborate.
But he had attempted at the Capitol, be handed the reins of power, not just in a peaceful transfer, but one that seemed to want to honor the tea ceremony. And is there a middle ground between storming the Capitol and would you like oolong or throat coat? Like what are we doing?
I totally agree with it. But this is like a thing in the Democratic Party. This is a thing, particularly with the Democratic establishment. It is this like, I actually think it speaks a lot to some of the class differences and the class striation in the Democratic Party, because yesterday was also MLK Day.
Boy, did that get lost.
Yeah. Yes, it did. And one of the things that MLK would talk about would talk about, this tension between people who value order over valuing justice. And I think there is this really strong attachment to order and business as usual. And I think also a lot of Democrats see that as a contrast. Like they're like, see, we're not them. So we are going to ask you what, kind of tea you want, as opposed to calling it like it is, which I think sometimes is seen as a little more gauche.
And that is in many ways kind of how you made your bones. And I think you're right. Even when you think about, and not to get in the weeds, but, so you were on the oversight committee and I thought did really great work there. I mean, good questioning, the kind of questioning that I think would get to the gist of an issue or would break it down in terms of what the dynamics were. And when you wanted to be the ranking member of the oversight committee, the Democrats decided to hand it to, and nothing against Representative Connolly, but he's 74 years old. And it's almost as if they were saying, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez is really great at this, but he's 74. So there's nothing we can do. He's a 74-year-old man. He's first in line.
I mean, there are rules and structures and orders in the Democratic Party. One that we know very well is seniority.
It needs to go away. It needs to go away. Connolly might be in the chair for 6 months, and then I don't want to be a dick. I think he's got throat cancer. He might succumb to his illness, right? And who knows? That could take a year and a half. It could take 3 months. We just don't know, right? At least I don't. But like, you know, you pick somebody who you think can do well in the chair for a long time, and there's just an obvious person sitting right here. It's just so crazy.
Yeah, I think, yeah, she's perfect because I feel like she's gonna like talk to Republicans like they're fucking children, and that's how they need to be talked to, like they're fucking children. We need to be like fucking strict ass parents, yelling at them and calling them stupid when they make a mistake. And hey, you need to think about what you're doing. Think about what you say. You know, that's fucking stupid. And I think that's what we fucking need to do, because I think that's what Republicans, honestly, I think that's what I think a lot of Republicans would like, is like having their hand held and treated like children. Like that.
The Republicans actually serving in Congress? Oh, you bet.
No, like the voters, voters especially.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I think that's.
I think they need some tough talk. They need some fucking tough talk with some fucking reality.
So I'm not saying you're wrong, because you are. You're correct, rather, because if you remember, I think it was at the Republican National Convention, you had Tucker Carlson get up there and do this creepy, daddy's coming home and you've been a bad girl and you need a spanking. And like, you had women in the audience like, woo, like as if Tucker Carlson is in any way, shape, or form a badass. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Like yes, like they seem to be keen on wanting that strongman type of leader. And they have fallen, the ones who are silly little bitches, they have fallen for right-wing populism, essentially, with Trump. I looked this up the other day. It's so easy to, because like I hear right-wing populism, left-wing populism, I hear them thrown around, but I've never really heard it defined. So when I looked up the definition, it became very obvious why it works. So populism is a range of political stances that emphasize the idea of the common people and often position this group in opposition to a perceived elite. So in the context of MAGA, what is the elite, right? It's the establishment. It's the Democratic establishment. It's the George Soros. So yeah, they've fallen for right-wing populism. So I think there's a chance. I think there's a chance that if you get somebody on the left who is just populist enough and you make this elite MAGA, they could really win. They could really win. I don't think Kamala Harris's campaign did a bad job at some sort of framing of populism. I
would argue they did do a bad job.
Really? I think they were good at calling out MAGA. I just don't know how well they were at defining the common people. You know what I mean?
But I would contribute them doing a bad job with them not having enough time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like, I think if they'd have been able to run the campaign for like a full year under Harris instead of Biden, and switching it to Harris in the last 100 days. Yeah, that would have been a lot. I think they could have really gotten a handle on their messaging and they would have had time to see the polling shift back to Trump and go, okay, what do we need to do to fix this? Rather than the polling shifted back to Trump and then being like, well, the election's in 2 weeks. So what do you do about that? So.
And they, it's it's a seniority rule type of system. And it is true. My run, it was a challenging of an entire system. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just about me or about again, I think Jerry's great, but it wasn't just about two individuals.
But by the way, that was his campaign slogan.
Yeah.
I think Jerry's great.
Yeah. But it was about challenging a system and a system and a way of making decisions in the party. And the problem with that is that when you ask Democrats sometimes to challenge the way that they've been operating for decades, it's existential in some ways. Like, if we don't make decisions like this, what could we possibly do? What would result?
That's amazing. And doesn't Trump's rise and the way that he's operating make farce of that.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, he clowns them, that it doesn't look like a holding to protocol. It looks like submission. It doesn't in any way appear to be, they're maintaining the thing about the party that is ineffectual, that doesn't do anything. Yet that's the thing they seem to cling to the most.
Yeah. And not only that, but the other thing that makes it dangerous is that it makes us remarkably predictable. It makes the Democratic Party highly predictable in the decisions it's going to make, in the people that we're going to select, in the type of people we advance, in the way that we make decisions. And when we are highly predictable to the opposition, they will be 1, 2, 4 steps ahead. They know what Democrats are going to do.
You're talking on more on a procedural level, or do you mean also a kind of ideological level?
I think both.
What did you say?
Said, yeah, they know our playbook.
Oh, yeah, the Republicans?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they know what we're going to do politically. They know, how we position ourselves, even within internal squabbles, when there's a progressive or whatever you may want to say about it. They kind of can map us out. And because of that, they're able to operate around that. They'll say, oh yeah, they're going to do that, or they're not going to do that. No, there was never any question about who or who wouldn't show up to the inauguration, for example, or how they would be received, I think.
Right.
And they know that. And so they're able to, to your point, Trump is able to run roughshod through these things because he has a lot of the party's number in terms of how they're going to operate. And I think that sometimes making certain calculated but unpredictable choices is a way that we can gives ourselves the upper hand.
And it also, I think, in some ways, it reveals some of the Democrats' posturing as performative. When you're creating apocalyptic messaging about a fascist,
literally
coming over and doing these things, and then when he wins, sitting down with watercress sandwiches and cream cheese and doing the whole 9 yards, it makes you wonder, well, did you believe any of the shit you were saying before?
Exactly.
Or was that something, again, that was just a part of your
right? I mean, I think what they're saying is not necessarily that they feel that way. They might, but kind of like I was talking earlier, it's just not a good look, right? Is when Biden and Kamala Harris and all them are literally, yes, they're sounding the signal correctly. They're saying, hey, this guy's a fascist. If you vote for him, you're literally, potentially plunging America into autocracy of some sort. And then they're out there having tea. It's like, okay, like, do you think this is really reinforcing that? I don't know.
How do you think that looks from the outside? Come on.
Right. For someone who doesn't understand the decorum of it either, who doesn't even get the sort of yeah, I know why they do it. Someone who's doesn't get that, they're gonna be like, wow, yeah, it was almost like it was all bullshit. That's what they're gonna say. So
I mean,
no,
you got to change in order to be effective. You can't keep on adapting the same strategy. You got to adopt change. Yeah. And I think this is where the Democrat Party is kind of in its own way conservative. So they need to adopt change, especially things that AOC presents. If you adopt some of the things that she presents, you're going to win a lot more elections. That's just the matter of fact, because AOC at least recognizes that, hey, we need to change the way we do this, or we're not going to be effective against this opponent. And that's going to be with every election, whether it's with a House or a Senate election. Hey, you need to look at this person's strategy, adapt to their strategy. Do not stick to the decorum or the regular way of doing things, because they're just going to be a step ahead and they're going to take advantage of you.
Yeah, for sure. The Republicans have this strategy of steamrolling whatever they can, right? That's just kind of their style. So, and
they can do that because they know what your next step is. That's how they're able to easily steamroll.
Right. They know so many Democrats are going to be a high road Democrat,
So much more dangerous than the first time around is exactly what you're saying. It's that he is much more normalized this time around than he was the first time. The first time, people were really on edge. They were on guard. They were very vigilant about any break that he would have with these norms. This time, the norms are becoming him. Like, the norms are embracing him. Even these like little things that people may not, like everyday working people may not care about, but they are strong cultural signals. Oscar de la Renta, like dressing all of the women, like there's all these cultural symbols, right?
I see, participating now in this when they wouldn't have participated in the past.
Exactly,
I see what you're
exactly.
saying.
So like all of these people that were scared before about like being associated with him from the most common basic level to the most elite level, they're all like they're all in now, because this is now a billionaire feeding frenzy. It is a kiss-ass race.
Man.
It is, how can I show how much fealty I have to Donald Trump in order to get my digs? And I think what's really important for people to understand, and like now and every day of this administration, is that you're being ripped off. You're being ripped off, dude. Like, everyone is being ripped off. And he goes up there and he says what he wants to say, but he's just the quintessential New York con man.
I mean, for God's sakes, they launched meme coins the day, like I can remember in the first administration, somebody would intimate something and the Democrats would scream, he violated the Hatch Act.
Yeah.
And like everybody would go crazy, and then everybody have to look up the Hatch Act. And now these guys are literally just launching meme coins before the inauguration and piling up billions of dollars in wealth.
Yes.
It's kind of a incredible transformation. But again, it feels like, let me ask you this, because maybe this is a different way of looking at it, because in some ways it reveals, maybe to the cynical mind, the way that you believe this shit always has worked in the past. That the idea of, and I'll give you an example, the gentleman, Martin, who is running for Democratic National Committee chair, right? So he comes out and he says, hey man, we're not going to, we're going to take money from the good billionaires, not the bad billionaires. And if money corrupts, and this happened in a conversation I had with Congresswoman Pelosi as well. She said, money corrupts the process. I said, well, you raised $35 million. And, oh, no. That's we can't disarm. And I said, well, how does money corrupt the Democrats? And she said, well, it doesn't. It corrupts them. Money's bad for them, but for us, it's good money. And isn't it almost better for us to now have this arrangement be explicit?
Yeah.
And be out in the open so that we understand this is how the world fucking works. This is how it goes round.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, like, it will still be hidden, even if you make it explicit. Like these meme coins. People do not really understand, nor should they, frankly, in a lot of ways, crypto. But if, God forbid, your job requires you to understand this, one of the things about crypto, I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of crypto is just scamming poor people and money laundering for wealthy people.
But doesn't that in some ways reflect the reality of our system in the first place? It's just a more grotesque, hyperbolic version of a system that's not working.
I think actually, like, when you look at how, for example, Putin has operated in Russia and the way they've been able to kind of take things over in these oligarchies, these kleptocracies, they prey on that exact logic, on that exact predicate, which is that everyone's corrupt and it's all corrupt. And so who gives a fuck? Sorry.
How dare you? At long last, have you no?
Seriously. Let's sling them things.
Well, just get yours. Right. And the problem with that is that we just entirely give up on a better world. Like that's the crux of it. It's to get good people to just give up and say, this is just how the world works now, and I might as well just throw up my hands. And the fact of the matter is, like, I know this is hard. Maybe this is something like I would say or whatever, but like, I think it actually is important to understand that there are good people, and they're like, and we should be doing good things. And when we decide to make that the norm, and when we decide to uphold it and value it, and even regardless of party, like, don't vote for the people who are doing bad things, whether they're a Democrat or a Republican. When we decide to hold people to a higher standard, then things actually do get better.
But don't you have to know what you're up against? Don't you? You know, how do you fight an enemy that you haven't defined explicitly? And I'll give you even an example in a small thing, because I think this speaks to a larger, deeper issue that I think I want to get into with you, which is, you know, we all look at, oh, why did the Democrats fall flat? Was it, oh, Joe Biden got out too late, or Kamala Harris didn't have a time, or she, you know, whatever that was. But I think at its base level, it was a feeling that government is not being responsive to the discomfort of its people, right? Which breeds a certain feeling that there's this disconnect. And so we have to be able to define why. And I would put this into kind of a unifying theme of governance, which is, for the Democrats, oftentimes they're so analog. They're so tied to Robert's Rules of Order, and they haven't realized, like, oh, it's fucking UFC out there now.
Yep.
Yes.
And we have to switch the way. But then you also have to define what that's going to mean for how you govern and what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Would that make sense?
I mean, I think so. You're kind of preaching to the choir here, because
that's why I had you on.
I believe that we need to be a party of brawlers for the working class.
There you go.
And we have turned into a party that caters, and this is reflected in the electoral results. We have become a party of people who cater to, like, this weird, like, almost people who call themselves upper middle class, but they're actually, like, kind of wealthy.
You're talking about me now, aren't you?
No, you're not middle class at all.
No, I meant wealthy. That's what I meant.
But it's like this suburban, like, kind of thing. And we've been chasing this affluent group and making all of these little concessions and hoping that working people don't notice.
How does that manifest? If you could give us an example of what those concessions might look like. So how, in a practical way, when you're chasing a different group, because in my mind, look, one of the biggest issues in my mind is, over the last 40 or 50 years, labor has been devalued and capital has been elevated. So investment and finance is king, and labor is in many ways devalued. So in what way have you seen those kinds of, moves made?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most kind of famous one that comes to mind is Kyrsten Sinema doing her little curtsy when she voted down the $15 minimum wage. But it wasn't just her. Like, that was the most public expression of it. But there were a bunch of Democrats in the Senate behind her that also voted it down. And I mean, people are struggling so much right now. $15 an hour is nothing. This was the demand 10 years ago. To be honest, when you index it, it should be higher now. Yes. And it is nothing. And what people hear when there's all of these senators voting against it with all of these excuses of, like, oh, well, how is it going to impact business? And first of all, these laws are very thoroughly, there's already dozens of compromises before you even get to the floor. It's not like it turns on the next day, like there's phasing periods, all this stuff.
And how do those compromises occur? Are those placed in because of who has the ear of the congressional people, the Senate and the House. This is the effect of big money and lobbying. Yes?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, it's really interesting. So you kind of mentioned this oversight race. So I didn't win the race. But one thing that did happen is that I've been assigned to a very powerful committee, the Energy and Commerce Committee.
Right.
And they're kind of known as one of 4 money committees in Congress.
They can do the appropriating, or they're just as a part of it, because it's not the appropriations, but it's
So the 4 committees are financial services, that's kind of governs Wall Street. You've got Ways and Means, which is taxes. You have appropriations, which is like government financing all these programs. And then you have energy and commerce. So basically all of the regulation of energy, of healthcare, of tech, of all of it goes through this committee. And I've served in several other committees before. The day that the news came out that I got assigned to energy and commerce, my staff's email boxes blew up with lobbyists, just tons of lobbyists just flooding our emails.
Wow.
And it is literally because of this assignment that I got. And
like, hey man, what's up? Like,
hey,
what kind of, was it like, hey, what's up, Congresswoman?
It's
just
very
checking
like,
in.
It's very like, hello, fellow kids. Like, oh, I was at the Bernie rally, like back in the day. Like, I'd love to chat.
And we've known so many salespeople. Like, just I know, you know, you and I, our careers over the past handful of years, we've known so many salespeople that you recognize that sales pitch. You recognize that, like, hey, I know, you know, hey, I think you're cool. I like this about you. It's just like you can see right through it instantly. Gosh, and I mean they had a lot of good back and forths here. I did this whole bit right here. I didn't talk about it, but it was just so good. This, you know, Brawlers for the Working Class is just that just gets me so fucking excited. And that to me is the
dude, this is why I've been telling you.
That's the I'm not. Yeah, I haven't disagreed with you, but that is the.
Dude, I've been telling you, she's it. She's fucking it. I've been telling you for. You didn't agree with me at first. I told you.
So it's. I know, and it's. I think that the reason I do is not because of not necessarily because of anything like truthfully like realistic. I think it's the pessimist in me that says that she's not gonna, you know, not ready, perhaps not prepared to be our nominee in 2028. But part of me is also considered that sentiment may be coming from like the part of me that's grown up. You know, I've been pretty politically active since like 2007 and 8, right?
Yeah.
When Obama was kind of coming about, and I supported Obama so much because I saw so much of the progressive mindset in him at the time, and I perceived him as a person who was going to be, you know, a clearing a path for progressive ideologies and things like, you know, universal healthcare, single payer, something like that, right? And you know, she embodies that, I think, much more than Obama ever did.
Exactly.
And I just my concern is that I felt that in 2008 we were not. I felt that the country rather just wasn't ready for Obama. Unfortunately, I think rather they weren't ready for who Obama could have been. You know, I really think that if he was a guy who won in 2016, for example, if he'd have just been a senator for, I don't know if he was hitting the end of his terms as senator. I don't think he was. I think he was just popular as a senator of Illinois. But if he'd have just been senator for a little while longer and then maybe run in like 2016 and we got him in 2016 instead of Trump, that'd have been crazy. I think he would have gotten so much good stuff done so fast, you know, but but there's all sorts of what if scenarios you could play out. But
yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think where Obama kind of fell flat was that he had these progressive ideas that he was throwing out while he was running, but he never got to accomplish them. Or he had let's face the reality. He did have really the opportunity to accomplish them. He just never did them because he went to that bipartisan, that bipartisan way. And people voted. He won so big in 2008.
Yeah,
it was like we forget how big it was. Americans fucking want these progressive ideas. They do want them. Like, and I think that she's the one to do it. Like, I think she could pull out Obama-like victory. Like, look at that electoral vote. My God.
365. Yeah, he won it by 95 electoral votes, which is absurd. That is massive.
Jesus Christ. That is like fucking ridiculous. I mean, look at the states that were blue. Look at this.
Yeah. Iowa.
Yeah, Iowa, Florida.
Got the blue wall.
Like, people want it, dude. Like, people want progressive ideas. And what's going to happen is this Trump administration is going to fall fucking flat on its face with its incompetency. It's going to cause inflation to plunge us back into a recession and everything. It's going to fucking happen. Me and you both know it's going to fucking happen.
I know.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And
trying to prep for
here's
it best I can.
Yeah, exactly. We're both prepping, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fucking, oh my God. She coming out in 2028. People are going to be fucking sick and tired. Even people on the fucking right. Even people that were straight up MAGA. Because there's going to be people that were straight up MAGA, hardcore MAGA. They're going to get so fucked because, they're poor. They're going to get so fucked from his policies that they're going to be like, what the fuck? Yeah. And they're going to flip the other way. And she's going to be fucking there with her progressive ideas. Hey, we tried the extreme right MAGA way. Now it's time to try the extreme left, quote unquote, extreme left, AOC way. And I feel like that will, I think she would blow anybody out of the water. I don't care if it's JD Vance or not. She's going to blow them out of the fucking water.
I see. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Let's see. Do Americans have a favorable? Yeah, like there's a little popularity, but like I don't know. There's surely a pop. Let's see popularity. I'm gonna just take out Vance here. Statista, why not? So I feel like this is a bit skewed.
Yeah.
Don't know is a pretty big slice too. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So and I don't know. Statista is one of those weird ones. So we might not have a whole lot on like her popularity, but like at this point, she's not like she's not like been a national candidate for anything, right? Like nothing that the whole nation would really weigh in on. So I think that with somebody like her, I think we could see like a Bernie Sanders level of enthusiasm, but hopefully just the popularity of a Joe Biden. Like that's what I think we like for those two things, like Bernie Sanders enthusiasm because of her wildly, I shouldn't say wildly because that I think has too many negative connotations, but her somewhat aggressively progressive ideologies, and then that would create the enthusiasm, and then popularity of like she's just a good person, she's just a likable person, people recognize her, they know her name. AOC is a fucking a household name now, right? Like if she were to achieve those things, if she becomes the nominee in 2028, I am vowing right here, right now, that I will do everything I can in my power to get her elected. I will phone bank. I will door knock. I'll
do whatever's needed.
Suck somebody off. I don't care. I want AOC.
It's happening.
Want AOC to be president if she's nominated for sure. So let's hope we're getting that direction.
Dude, I will empty my fucking wallet. I swear to God.
It would be worth it. It would be worth it because we're working class. It would be us investing in our future. In a way.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like she's just
it would be a grassroots campaign. I don't think she would take PAC money, and I think that she would campaign on not taking PAC money big time.
Yeah, as she should, and then she would and she actually talks about the root of the fucking problems. Everyday working class people like me and you face.
Yeah,
she understands them. You know why? Because she's actually been fucking there.
Was just there like 8 years ago or something.
Exactly.
Like that, right? Like 9 years ago, she was doing the same thing.
Oh my goodness! Like, dude, like, yeah, it's it's got to happen. It's I'm telling you,
she might be the way. Like I said, to me, it depends on whether or not she can get a nomination. I think she can. I think she can. I just don't know that she will because the Democrats are the Democrats, and as she says, there's this seniority thing. I just don't like they let Obama kind of jump the line. I don't know why they would not want to do that again because it obviously worked out in Obama. In the case of Obama,
more than worked out.
It more than worked out for the Democrats. I mean, we had a trifecta at 2 different points. They got the ACA, so much, but and I think she would do more. I think she would be better than Obama. I think she would be bipartisan, but also would call out bullshit unabashedly. Like she's less corporately influenced than Obama was.
I'm telling you, if she goes, she has a rally, let's say, and she's campaigning. I tell you, as soon as she drops 1 or 2 fucking F-bombs, she's gonna have so many people on her fucking side that it's gonna be.
I know.
It's gonna be hard to like. People are gonna be like, oh, what? F-bombs are winning elections now? Right. Like, well, I'm telling you,
Trump has dropped them. He's very selective with them, but he's dropped them.
Yeah. Like it's time to it's time to fucking brawl, and that's how you fucking brawl. Like, you need to be unapologetic and just straight up fucking no filter, just attacking problem after problem and attacking your opponent. And
she's a bulldog with a great smile. So like,
yeah. Like I see her crushing whoever the Republicans put up, no matter who it is, crushing them completely.
I don't see I don't see them being more popular. I just, it's to me, it's not getting her the nomination that's the problem. It's not her getting elected that's so much the problem. It's getting her the nomination. That's that's the challenging part.
I think that's where like people like me and you and people like Hutch and even Destiny, if he comes back and all that, like
we need to aggressively promote her. If
aggressively, we gotta be super aggressive because this next election cycle, they're not going to be doing like the mainstream media shit. They're going to be hitting podcasts and streamers and things like that because they realized what Trump figured out. They talked about it multiple times. They figured it out finally. Yes. That's how Trump won. Fucking, we got to push it hard. This is like where we come in. I know we only got like a couple of viewers on this shit every once in a while, but we got to do our part.
Now's the time to prepare for it. We got to have these conversations, so that if nothing else, so that people can begin to voice what they want to see. And I do hope we finally see progressivism becoming a proper priority for the Democratic Party. It needs to. It just has to be. They can't just keep pushing us aside because I think millennials and Gen Z, I think, are now the majority of the electorate, generally speaking.
Yeah, they are.
Compared to boomers and Gen X. Yeah.
Yeah, the boomers are dying off very rapidly. Gen X is about to start really dying off. So, it's going to be our time. I think Republicans kind of know this, and this is why they're making this desperate move of having Trump in office and kind of getting this dictatorship thing kind of going, because I think they kind of know they're fucked in the future. Because let's be honest, like Gen Z is smarter than millennials, really, because they have had access to a technology on another level.
Broadly speaking, yeah.
Yeah, and us being millennials, like, we're smarter than Gen X by a mile because we had access to technology and know how to fucking use it.
Yes.
So we're able to
actually.
we know
some of our generation had parents who liked them too, so that helps.
Yeah. So I mean, like we actually know how to research things and everything like that. Unlike Gen X and Boomers.
Yes, we have better media literacy for sure. We're less likely to fall for propaganda, so on and so forth.
Yeah. So I think that's why they're kind of like they push Trump these past decade. So we'll see what fucking happens, dude. Like I really think that AOC is the way.
That's my hope too, man. And it's like I said, it's my only concerns I think are probably pessimism and pain of past, like really it's the pain of getting my hopes up for Bernie. And I think that's what it is. I think it's the PTSD of getting my hopes up for Bernie, donating to his campaign, putting his stickers on my shit, whatever, right? Like it was that, and then seeing him not be able to win a primary. And I was just
maybe it's probably me being way too optimistic, maybe. I feel like people are going to actually learn their fucking lesson from this past election. And
I kind of hope that I think there's a number of lessons to be learned. I hope that the one that is learned is like, look, lean on the young people. Lean on like at the end of the day, you could sum up a lot of the lessons in that statement alone. Lean on the young people. Lean on the young people. Go on the alternative media. Use profanity. Speak your mind. Call out the bullshit when you really want to call it out. Don't show decorum to fucking fascists. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Fuck them. Yeah. I like that.
And
by the way, real quick, I sent you a video on Discord.
I'm gonna check it out.
I just put the link in there just so that you can watch it if you want, but like I put the link in there because I want to pull it up after this, because what the guy said in that video is so fucking inspiring, so good. It's like a battle cry for us. We'll watch that after this.
Thing is like I am afforded, because I am supported by everyday people. Like the average donation to my campaign is like $17 or something like that. I don't take a dime of lobbyist money. Because I am afforded that independence, because everyday people support me, I'm under no pressure or obligation to take a single one of these meetings, not one. And I don't meet with lobbyists. It's just not really something that I do. And, if my constituents.
Same reason you don't negotiate with terrorists.
Or if everyday people are organizing and coming to my door, I'll open it. If I have policy questions, I will go and find the answers that I need for certain things, but I don't make these kinds of decisions. But these compromises that you mentioned, how they happen along the way, it is important for people to understand how Congress is structured. Like every bill that gets proposed gets assigned to a committee. That committee has a chair. That chair is the head honcho.
And especially in the House, it's all or nothing. I mean, like even if you have a 1-seat majority, you control all the business that goes through that committee.
That's right. And people don't really know that. But if you have, two, for example, this majority right now, especially because Trump is appointing some people, there's only 2 more Republicans or so right now in the House than there are Democrats. But if you just have 1 more or 2 more, you gain control of all the House committees. You decide what legislation gets voted on. You do all of it.
Who gets investigated, who's allowed to call witnesses, what those witnesses are. I mean, you control the entire operation.
Yeah. And the minority party just has to basically sit there for 2 years, and maybe you can rename a post office if a Republican's going to throw you a bone. But
all right.
It's pretty good. That's how those compromises happen, because you need to win that vote. I think about back when Biden was trying to do Build Back Better, and we had these we had this massive prescription drug pricing provision in there that was going to make so many prescriptions more affordable for people. And there was like one Democrat, and that bill went through Energy and Commerce. There was like one Democrat, maybe two, very beholden to industry. It lost by one vote, or it lost by 1 or 2 votes in that committee. And so that's how like all of these things get slowly chipped away because of that process. And that's why one of the things that we say is like, yes, voting for Democratic majorities is important, but it's really about the kind of Democrat that you're sending. And one of the things I've learned a lot in the House is like, there's so many frustrations, understandably, but also, the popularity of Congress is super low, but a lot of people actually like their individual member of Congress. And that's part of the story that we have here too, because a lot of people are just very, where they're very beholden to a set of incentives that are not always just the people who voted for them.
Right. And the people who voted for them rarely get the access. I thought it was a stark moment at the inauguration yesterday. Amy Klobuchar was up and, she gave that first speech, and it began with this sort of ode to the working man. Oh, the working man, the construction workers who built this city, the railroad engineers who get, and it was this large ode to the working man. Not one of them in the room.
Literally.
Not even allowed in.
And you've got like Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos and
right.
the TikTok CEO right behind you. Yeah, no, it's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
But it makes it seem like a performance. This is why I think people lose that faith. And I think that ultimately this idea that, well, people just need to have better union.
John, I'm going to give you a tip, John. Just so that you can get I'm sure you get right wingers in your comments that bug you about this. Maybe you like it. But one quick tip, John. To me, this space in your wall right here looks like a perfect place to put your American flag. I'm just going to throw that out.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, put it there, John. My goodness.
It being behind here is a little sad. Just
Yeah. Put that flag there.
Just stick it right there. I don't know. You look like you got a thermostat, something here, wires. Go for it. I'm sure you won't hit them. You'll be fine.
Unions, and they just like, why is it incumbent upon working people? Maybe this is a shift, and maybe this is an interesting way to kind of talk about where do the Democrats go ideologically, right? Because this fire hose of kind of oligarchs isn't going to be ending. And it seems like unionization, while a really powerful tool, is a slow moving one, and certainly one that's been eroded. Mm-hmm. Is maybe the new economic theory a way to tap into that fire hose? That money is built by labor, but labor does not participate like a shareholder. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is there a way, and this is obviously beyond my pay grade, but to start shifting the conversation beyond like, hey man, just give us a minimum wage raise, and start think about the ways that these CEOs and these oligarchs are remunerated, right? It's bonuses, it's stock buybacks. So how do we get labor to not just live on the crumbs that they are afforded, but to participate in that fire hose, that $50 trillion growth in wealth over these last 4 years?
I mean, there are tons of structural things that we can do. And there are lots and lots of ways to get a bite at that apple. I think kind of the knot that we have to untie is how do we build the power to actually implement those things? Like when it comes to labor getting that share, that's not a hard problem to solve. There are everything from kind of Elizabeth Warren and a lot of other folks saying labor should have board seats in corporations, to even more lefty, even, I mean, it's all lefty, but even like other things.
But why is it like even when it's called lefty, like in the rest of the world, it's like center right.
It's normal.
Like it's normal.
Yeah,
it's,
right.
You know, when we talk about, how about everybody like can go to a doctor, and you're like, what are you, a communist? And you're like, no, that's the whole world does that.
Well, that's
except
the thing.
us.
Our country is remarkably propagandized. Like we are remarkably propagandized. And that's what I'm talking about. A lot of working class people voted for Donald Trump.
Sure. I mean, he gained a tremendous amount in that area.
He gained a tremendous amount in that area. They voted for him despite the fact that he has a Supreme Court that guts labor rights, that they are overwhelmingly opposed to raising a minimum wage, that they are really, you know, that they're gutting the civil rights around working people and organizing, let alone women and voting rights and for Black folks and immigrants. Like, put all of that aside, just on a working class level, we have elected the foxes for the hen house to run the hen house. And so that is like something that we're going to have to confront, because what Zuckerberg and Bezos and all these people sitting behind them, they don't just represent billionaires. They represent all of the communication platforms that people use in the United States. So the TikTok CEO is saying, we work for Trump. Meta, Instagram, and Facebook CEO is saying, we work for Trump. Of course, you've got Elon with his fucking like jumping around on a stage. All of them are saying we
just gave away $1 million to individuals in Pennsylvania just to
which is illegal.
Which is like not legal, but
right. But isn't that the point though? They would rather ask for forgiveness than permission. And isn't a lot of this based on, you know, when we say it's the foxes now guarding the hen house, but isn't it the people in the hen house going, where are my eggs?
Yeah.
You promised me eggs and you guys haven't delivered. Now you did something really interesting, I thought, after the election. And this is, I think, why I think the right gives you respect. And also I think is a little trepidatious about you, in that you kind of understand these new media platforms, and you went on one of them, and it was either TikTok or Instagram or one, after the election, because you outperformed the Democrats in your district. And there were people that voted for you and voted for Trump, and you wanted to know why. And in doing that, you know, what came back to you? Was it anything revelatory or illuminating about the process by which their frustration with people that are speaking the language of their struggle but not delivering on their struggle led them to, well, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just cut through all the red tape and go with a more executive version of all of this?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a couple of things. One is that, especially for people who voted for Trump and voted for me, they see two people that are fundamentally anti-establishment, two people that do not respect a rule if the rule does not lead to an outcome, like a positive outcome. And one of the things that I really kind of sit with is the level to which also people believe in I think a shift that we've seen is that people want to hear directly from a politician. And importantly, and this is also, you know, dicey territory, I think, they will believe what the politician says from themselves, right?
If they hear it from you.
If they hear it from me, and the same thing, like if they hear it from Trump. Like Trump went around. I don't think people, understandably, like if you don't like Trump, you probably didn't listen to him on the campaign trail. But this was a very different Trump that was on the campaign trail. And even if you roll back his election night speech and his victory speech, when he talks about immigration, for example, my district is like 60% immigrant families. And so when you hear him, he was very clear on the campaign trail saying, we're only going to go after the criminals and we're not going to go after people who came here the right way. And he is lying through his teeth, but that is what he is saying. And so people believe it. It's the same thing with the Project 2025 stuff. When he was like, that's not me.
Right.
We're not going to do that. People will say, he said it's not him. He said he's only going to go after the quote unquote criminals, which like they believe everyone who came here who is undocumented is a criminal. Like, and not only that, but on paper, they say they want to deport 20 million people. There's only 14 million undocumented people in the United States. So they're going to have to proactively strip status from 6 million people who are here legally and in a legal fashion in order to meet that number. And so like, this is actually where I think the collapse of journalism, which again, Bezos runs the Post. You've got they have the newspapers too.
The guy from the LA Times was like, hey man, what do you guys want us to put in the paper?
Yeah. LA Times is a billionaire publication. Washington Post was a billionaire publication. New York Times is like taking L's left and right. Like you have Elon doing a Nazi salute yesterday and they're like, he did this curious, that was, controversial, flagellation. Like, what are you people doing? What utility do you have right now? And
all these media apparatuses are completely compromised.
Yeah, it's really scary. And like, I don't feel that there's been a big change to TikTok yet, but like, depending on
it's coming.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like, depending on who their U.S. buyer is. And I don't think that the U.S. whoever puts up a bid for TikTok isn't going to do so without Trump's blessing. Period. And he's gonna try to ensure and arrange that someone takes majority control of TikTok or ownership of TikTok. He's gonna make sure someone does that who's got his best interest in mind. Period. End of. And I that when that day comes, I'm fucking gone. Like I'm outie.
Do we leave or do we fight for it? Because here's the thing: is that algorithm's still going to exist? And we can fucking fight for it.
That's a good question. That's a good. I don't think. Yeah, it's just like I don't know, man.
They'll lose money if they suppress it. If they suppress that algorithm and like try to, then it becomes an investment and wasn't even worthwhile in the beginning. Because
there's some calculus to be done about like how many. What for me it'll kind of come down to. It'll come down to like, okay, like, what types of voices are they going to suppress or maybe even outright censor? What terms are they going to, and this is already kind of looking sketchy. Like, I want to, if you did.
But what's good though, I don't know if you're seeing this, but people are aware of the sketchiness. Like on TikTok. They are very aware. You're not going to squeeze by them easy.
Right. Are you seeing and hearing posts about cute winter boots?
Oh yeah, I am all in that.
All right. Yeah, dude. I had to like look it up on like Reddit or something the other day just to make sure I knew, but I was like, I think I'm picking up what they're putting down. I just want to be like certain that I'm not like suddenly a furry now or some shit, right? Like, I just didn't want to like accidentally join the wrong community just because I was getting some posts about it. So like I Googled it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I see. It's resistance talk, it's stuff that I'm all about. So, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the platform when they do get their US buyer. And the way I phrased it earlier is like, I don't think Trump's, I don't think his, trade commissioner, his FTC, I don't think they're going to be too, hawkish towards, any sort of monopolistic or antitrust things. So maybe it will be Elon and maybe he will just destroy TikTok like he's destroyed Twitter. I don't know. That very well could happen. It could be something like that bad. Crazy. We'll just have to see. But yeah, I'm so far I haven't seen much to my algorithm. The one thing I will say, and other people had this happen to them too, is that TikTok unfollowed me from not Lev, that's his dad, from Aaron Parnas.
Oh yeah, same thing to me.
Which is I was like interesting, and I don't know if it's just because he rose so fast that they were alleging like, oh, he might have botted some follows, so we just had to strip like X amount of follows after a certain day. I don't know. They might use some bullshit excuse like that, but like it's like, no, you don't just fucking unfollow me without me. Like that's just weird. That's just dumb. So.
that is meshing together. And so, but the point is like, this is not all doom and gloom. I think that it highlights ways that we can fight back.
That's
and
right.
One of the things that we need to do is to talk to people directly. Also, guess what? There need to be Democrats who walk the walk and talk the talk. There is an insane amount of hypocrisy, and the hypocrisy is what gets exploited to use the cynicism. And wherever there's a hypocritical window, for example, I think one of the most biggest examples of this is insider trading in Congress.
Yes.
Like,
dude, I don't know if I like, do I give snaps? I don't know what the kids do anymore, but like, dude, it is like, that's so crazy.
It's so crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, like, that's and this is the thing. It's like people think that everyday people are stupid. I'm like, do you all really think that people don't see this shit? Like,
they sit on a committee, they get information about a drug or a contract or a thing. They immediately make a call. The stockbroker changes things, and their portfolio swells.
Explodes. It explodes.
What are we doing?
And you're doing this on public trust.
Right.
On like taxpayer finance,
pretty openly.
Oh yeah, they don't even hide it.
Facilities. Like, it, of course.
You're regulating the market that you're trading on.
Exactly. And
you
like,
run the casino.
And then we're supposed to act like money only corrupts Republicans? Give me a fucking break.
We're lucky we're not in the same room, because I think we might have high-fived. I really think we may have disturbingly high-fived in that moment.
And I think sometimes what my colleagues and, like, other people in the party don't understand is that the insider trading that happens in Congress, it explodes the cynicism that fuels the right. It doesn't benefit us. It benefits Republicans, because they make no bones about the fact that they are here, about what class they are here to serve. In fact, Republicans are far more honest in this respect sometimes, which is that they're here to serve the billionaire class, and they make decisions very publicly to serve that billionaire class.
Oh, but they're performing a populist dance in a lot of ways. But doesn't it, though, and this is the thing where it kind of gets tricky, because what the right's diagnosis is in many ways correct. What Trump is saying is the system is rigged.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's what we're saying, which is, it's rigged. Now, I don't believe his remedy is correct. I don't believe he's honest about where he's unrigging it. I think he's not draining the swamp. He's co-opting it. He wants the deed to the swamp so that he can continue to funnel. I mean, that, meme coin being just the tip of the iceberg there. But isn't that what is driving them, is that sense that, and they are, I think, not wrong, the system is rigged.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's completely rigged. And the frustrations at that are why working people want to elect people who seek to not, go along to get along.
But the question is, they're viewing it like, oh, it's the undocumented migrants that are rigging the system, and not the 6 billionaire oligarchs that are sitting in the front row at the inauguration. To me, that's the disconnect.
That's exactly right. And like, the thing is that when we talk
people
about
truly don't fathom how much money those billionaires have.
They don't. Like I haven't seen these posts in a minute, but I was seeing TikTok posts about where they were using like grains of rice to compare.
So there's a website. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's a website that uses the pixels on your phone. It'll work on your computer. Like, it uses the pixels to like demonstrate how much wealth Elon Musk has. I can't remember what the name of the website is. And it might be then.
You versus a billionaire, an interactive perspective on wealth.
It's one of those. Nah, that ain't it.
That's sketchy.
Yeah, that ain't it. Go back to the top. It might be one of the top ones. Engaging data. What is that?
Oh, yeah.
Your screen. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Click on that. Well, let's see some people. People need to see this.
Scroll or swipe to the right. You can also press L or D. Okay. Single pixel in the center of the circle represents $1,000. Okay. The square represents the median U.S. annual household income. Okay. $1 million. That's a pretty good size square. These squares represent the average estimated lifetime earnings of college graduates. Geez, that's just a note. That's a huge gap there between women making, and I guess some of that, could be based on just tradition, who might be like a stay-at-home parent, whatever. It's hard to say, but
yeah.
This square represents $11 million. That's net worth of 1% of U.S. households. Jesus Christ. 43 million and net worth of 0.1%. That represents $100 million. This is $100 million, just this big ass rectangle here.
Yeah.
And oops. Oh shit. I scrolled the wrong way. It's fine, whatever. Oh my God. Dude, yeah, this is the scroll bar here.
Yeah. We're not the Elon Musk yet. Look, there's Oprah Winfrey right there.
Oh my God. How fast can I do this? This is terrible.
It's supposed to be done on a phone. That's what's mostly done for.
I'm shift scrolling with my mouse. Now that's way better. Yeah, dude. Like,
look at the percentage of us. 25%. That's just Musk.
Yeah. Global electric vehicle market. He has more money than the entire market that he sells his Teslas in. There's Bezos, 253. Yep. Still an absolutely just disgusting amount of money.
Yeah. What's that one?
Michigan lifetime salary. The
whole state of Michigan.
Oh. Well, I don't know what that means. 40 years. No, this is like average. This must be an average.
Wow.
Total annual salary of entire Michigan workforce. I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
4.3 million people. So he's worth more money than what the entire state of Michigan makes in a year. Software developers, which is like they already make a shitload more money than, like, say, me.
Yeah. Entire state of California. Good Lord.
This is stupid. I mean, I know it's like, yeah, this is, this is one unique way. Like, I mean, I've seen the grains of rice comparison, and that's just absurd. Total annual U.S. consumer spending on vehicle fuel, on fucking gas, dude.
Yeah.
You could literally buy us gas for a year.
There you go.
That's astonishing, dude. Truly astonishing.
Isn't that fucking nuts?
that is absolutely nuts. Wow. Just wow.
The reason why solidarity is, when we build that, is such an antidote to kleptocracy and corruption. I think something that's really important for people to understand, and that's something that I also think the left can do a better job at, is also explaining why this solidarity is important, not just on moral grounds, but this is our strategy for defeating the billionaire class, because they are going to say, your wages are low because of an immigrant. As though, and by the way, oh, you're going to drive down car. Wait until there's no immigrants to do your roofing, to do agricultural work in the United States, and you're going to have some, like, I don't even know, some UCLA alum that's like doing your vegetables.
Well, there are people here in this country who will do work for money that Americans won't do work for, who are exploited by, the system.
They are exploited. They are absolutely exploited. But the thing is that when we allow ourselves to constantly be distracted by these culture wars around trans people, around, like, it's a new thing every day. But I think the answer isn't that we just let those people be attacked. It's that we say, what are you doing, man? Like, I think we need to make standing up for these folks just like such an afterthought that it's not even a debate. Like, we need to understand and see the bait for what it is, but we don't take the bait by letting those rights just erode and go by the wayside.
But how do you battle certain, like, the common sense? I'll give you an example. Like when they say, oh, there's an undocumented immigrant who has committed a crime.
Mm-hmm.
And common sense would tell you, yeah, that person has lost their ability to be here and should be sent back. And yet you would find there are some Democrats who would disagree with that. Or, isn't there another form of progressivism that is more muscular, that has a certain amount of common sense, law and order aspect to it, that can be fashioned as a way forward?
Yeah.
That doesn't get saddled with some of these seemingly nonsensical positions.
Yeah. Well, let's take the Lake and Riley Act, for example, which just passed in the Senate, which is this kind of encapsulates a lot of what you just said. Lake and Riley Act, on its face, Republicans brought this and they say, well, if you are, by the way, Lake and Riley is a victim of a horrific crime, horrible murder by I believe an asylum seeker or an undocumented person.
Right. But apparently who had like a criminal record.
Yes.
Who had committed crimes.
Now, first and foremost, her family explicitly asked that her name not be politicized or used or wielded in this way. And every time I see this, like, it's just so disgusting to me that they just trampled on this family's wishes and decided to do this. But anyways, so you have this act that's brought forth, and Republicans say,
they don't give a fuck.
Okay,
they have no morals.
Well, this person, if you have a criminal record, if you've, sexually assaulted somebody, you should be deported. And so that's the guise of this bill, right? And they said, so that should be the law. Except that's not what's in this law. Because that is existing U.S. law. It is existing U.S. law.
Why isn't it done then?
Duh.
And, well, I mean, I think there are individual cases where I'm not sure. But this is what the right does. They exploit these like very narrow individual cases. But the existing law in the United States is that if you are undocumented and you commit a crime, you are put on priority number 1 for deportation. That is standing U.S. law.
And it's not like we don't deport a lot of people, even in Democratic administrations.
Right.
We deport a ton.
Now, here's what Lake and Riley does, actually, is that they use that guise to then dramatically erode constitutional rights in the United States tucked into that bill.
No due process then for someone who is an asylum seeker.
So now in this bill, all you need to do is be accused of a crime. And you don't have to be fully undocumented. It works against dreamers too. So you could be here. You could have lawful,
So they take a narrow common sense issue, and then what they do is they expand the margins out on it to things that would not be common sense.
This is Patriot Act all over again.
Right.
This is using this guise of national security to erode not just the civil rights of this population, but your civil rights too. And like, it makes us all, it's kind of like when they did these 100-mile border security zones, they're doing surveillance on everybody, on the vast majority of the United States, because most people, believe it or not, live within 100 miles of some kind of border, the southern border, the northern border, or both either coast.
Oh, I got Delaware breathing down my neck over here.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're sending up my way.
And so, like, this is the thing that we need to be aware of, but it's also something that you haven't heard this because Democrats are very scared on these kinds of issues. Democrats are vulnerable on issues of immigration. And so the response, instead of being more full-throated and telling people how they're being conned, is to kind of just like be quiet about it and to go along with it.
So let's take your energy. Let's take the passion that you have for these issues. And let's think about, because right now the Democrats are almost fully defined by their positions on Trump. Mm-hmm. As opposed to, people are thirsty for a leadership. And the Democrats, I think, have had a really difficult time responding to that thirst, responding to that action. So what is the process then of redefining what this party is, what it represents moving forward? And are there leaders there? It is sclerotic. I mean, it is a party in real confusion. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I can't put my finger on, it reminds me of the Republicans in 2012, where there was just, when Trump came into that first 2016 primary, I mean, he just flicking his finger, not Jeb Bush. Yeah, nice. Boom, done. Yeah. And I think the Democrats are vulnerable to that. So what is the process of redefining and recapturing what this party is?
Well, I think we need a real agenda. If you've noticed, the Democratic Party has not really had a platform with any sort of new.
I have noticed.
Yeah, there's no platform. I mean, there's technically a platform that gets voted out. This is the crux of it. If you ask a working class American or just any normal American, what is a Democrat? What do they stand for? They will not really be able to give you a clear answer. And so our party needs a clear and strong agenda. I think one of the problems is that the internal incentives within the Democratic Party are quite contrary to a clear, full-throated agenda. And that's why I think you notice, like, Biden on his way out, it was only on his way out that he was like, this country's controlled by oligarchs. We could have used that energy a couple years ago.
No shit.
Well, I mean, what he did on the way out, I really thought it was incredibly disappointing. On the way out, he's like, we're controlled by oligarchs, women are people, and I'm going to make sure that my family has a life raft. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, boy, and I have fondness for him. And he was certainly incredibly important to a bill that was very important to me that that went through. But I just thought, again, you just made this whole thing look like a show, like a performance, and that you've been not clear with us over 4 years. And on your way out, you're just going to tell the truth, which is our legal system doesn't serve anybody, and I'm just going to make sure my family's protected.
Yeah, and I think it's one of these things where people, I do think that people want rule breakers in this moment.
Purposeful rule. I think I don't think we're looking for nihilists. I think we're looking for a purposeful recapturing of the thrust. Does it start, Congresswoman, with what you did, which is kind of a customer service? I think what the Democrats have lost is the reality of people's lives when you think about that cradle to grave journey and where the bottleneck pressures are, that weird working class, middle class squeeze of, I've worked really hard, I've saved some money, but now I got to blow most of it on my kids' college while my parents need health care and other things, and those costs are soaring. And that's going to put me under by the time I get up to that age when I'm 60 years old. Mm-hmm. Isn't that journey the absolute priority of any government that's going to listen to the discomfort of the way its people live?
Of course. Of course. This is where I think when you talk about responsiveness, it's that a lot of people propose these things that kind of nibble around the edges, but don't actually structurally address the problem. And so they'll say, okay, we're going to do a little bit of Medicare reform here. That doesn't fix the problem. That doesn't fix the fact that you aren't paid a living wage from the jump, from the time you're 15 years old, getting your first job at McDonald's or Baskin Robbins or wherever it is. Like, we don't have money. We need money. So that doesn't solve that problem. It doesn't solve the fact that the price of college is just skyrocketing year over year, and it's increasingly becoming something that's only accessible for more and more elite people as time goes on. It doesn't fix the fact that then, in order to that degree, yes, it still does give you a ticket to a more privileged class. I know there's a lot of discussion about, is college worth, and also the trades too. The trades are incredibly important as well. But like, these are still like kind of tickets to a more so people are getting left behind at every single stage of life. And what the Democratic response has been is like, oh, let's expand Pell Grants a little bit, and no, we need tuition.
Or even, the Obamacare, which is in many ways just a giant benefit to insurance companies, which is the government just saying, we'll give you a little bit of access to this shitty system that you haven't been satisfied with. And we'll just make sure that to get an insurance company to take you on, if you're considered a poor risk, we'll just pay them to do that. At the end of the
day, like, and the stuff that's crazy to me is like, the answers are stuff like, we're just asking for things that our parents and our grandparents had, like,
yes,
tuition-free public colleges and universities, not new.
So my parents went to City College in New York. It was free. This was the 1940s. It's free.
That's right. We should be lowering the age of Medicare. I want the age of Medicare to be lowered to 0, but even you bring it to 50, and you will be able to make tons and tons of people far more secure in their lives, which, by the way, helps their kids, because you're working your ass off to get your parents health care because they're not 65 yet.
Now, to make that argument, is job one then to be honest about the deliverables that a government can offer, or about how we need to almost, when they talk about moonshots, we need a bureaucratic moonshot, because in truth, the way that the government operates right now is counterintuitive and counterfactual to all best practices. And there is such opportunity here, Congresswoman. I feel it in your voice. I feel the frustration that you feel being down there. I've experienced it myself. I have to tell you, like, when we were down there trying to do legislation, I was at times just stunned at what you had talked about earlier, which is that we have to go through regular order. And it was interesting to me, what I discovered to some respect is, and this is a terrible thing to probably say, but Congress can be bullied.
Yeah, no, we can.
By righteousness and by doing the right thing. Like, as long as they feel like you're not going to go away and you're going to keep that light on them, Mitch McConnell can be.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's a very strange feeling to have that.
And also, people are very responsive to incentives. I think sometimes people are rightfully sometimes frustrated at like some of the creep towards pro business and capital and this turn away from labor.
And does this system require an entrenched underclass to work properly? The way I've always looked at it is, government can be an effective check. Capitalism is the system we've chosen, and it certainly is a wealth generation system, but it also has collateral damage along the way. It has destructive things that are built into its function, and maybe government's there, not necessarily to change that system of wealth generation, but to ameliorate the collateral damage and allow more people into that fire hose of wealth generation.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid question.
Yeah, capitalism only works.
Your view
only works whenever it's regulated. It's the only time it ever works.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it eats itself. Right. So that's how it ends up destroying countries.
Right.
So I don't see how people. It's really a lack of education on these matters. Like, if you want success, let's take the 1950s, for example. 1950s was probably about the time that the middle class was at its strongest, which is the backbone of capitalism is the middle class. If you do not have a strong middle class for capitalism, then capitalism fails. It falters like it is now. It's faltering. That's why everybody's struggling right now, because the middle class is very weak. But how do you maintain a strong middle class? You enforce regulations. You have to have these regulations in place in order to have a strong middle class. Because if you don't have these regulations, you get billionaires that exploit that middle class and weaken it and take money from it. It's very, very simple. Like, I know people like hate the idea of socialism, like, but you don't have to take the economic parts of socialism. You can throw that shit out the fucking door. You can just take the governmental parts of socialism, and you have a some sort of democratic socialism where you still elect officials, which which kind of makes the United States really unique in a way, like where socialism could really thrive and actually work for the people in a very strong way. Because we have a constitutional democratic republic, right?
Right.
We have a constitution that governs, that has a set of rules on what we're allowed to do and what we can do and everything like that. It's extremely hard to change that. As much as Trump wants to change it, he can't. It's literally impossible for him to do so. Like, he doesn't have the votes anywhere to do so. But the with us being able to elect our representatives, as long as we keep on electing representatives that are for us and want to keep on implementing a strong social safety nets and take the strong social safety nets that we have and strengthening them and making them more efficient and everything like that, as long as we do that, the capitalism will take care of itself. We'll make so much fucking money, and we will have a strong middle class, and new ideas will be popping out of that middle class like crazy. Like back in like the 1950s, that's how we got fucking plastic. God damn it! Like, because some middle class fucking genius came up with the idea of fucking plastic.
Well, sadly, plastic hasn't aged well in terms of
environmental
impact, but
correct.
That's the nature of the human experiment, is learning and implementing new. I mean,
exactly.
I totally agree that, like, capitalism in itself is not inherently bad. Capitalism is in some, it's a driver for innovation. It's a driver for technology in a lot of ways. And yes, as you've mentioned, it's just that capitalism works best when it has definitive and rigid guardrails that just can't be bowled over super easily, a very fair tax revenue system for the government that is operating under this capitalistic economy, and social safety nets so that people aren't just left out in the cold when they don't have a job. You can't simply just expect every citizen to work from the age of 15 to 75, sun up, sundown, and not die somewhere in between. That's just not a reality. And that the labor laws that we didn't used to have were, capitalism is a lot more regulated today than a lot of people, I'm sure realize, because, if you only grew up in a certain time frame, you're not always made aware of, like, the early 1900s where, like, you had literal children working 12-hour days in like a factory, right? Like, we used to have like basically like sweatshops and shit. Like, the US has not always had a good history of being kind to labor, but so many of these other systems out there show us that you can have the benefits of capitalism. You can have that driver for technology and the driver for innovation. You can have the line always going up. You can have your GDP increase. You can have your stock markets perform well, but you can also have good social safety programs. Billionaires, we'll just say, just because other countries don't have billionaires, you'll have really rich people paying their fair share in taxes. If if you make an absurd amount of money, you should pay an absurd amount in taxes. That's just plain and simple.
It's common sense.
It is super common sense. And I think that people like AOC can really communicate that, whether literally or not is kind of a big question on, because we know Americans' literacy is kind of fucked up these days. Like, I feel like she can find a way to explain that, hey, like, we can keep being the country we know we are, that we want to be. We can still be Americans, and we can still appreciate and benefit from capital, but we got to have some realistic guardrails here, and we got to have some good social safety programs so that no one is left out in the cold. You being unable to work for whatever reason should not mean you don't have a roof over your head, plain and simple, right? These are all very normal things. Yeah. And I mean, guys as wealthy as Elon Musk could end poverty in this country overnight. He really could.
Yeah. I mean, I think the top marginal tax rate in like the 1950s was 91%. Like the wealthiest people in the country paid upwards to 91% in taxes.
As they should. If Elon Musk paid
and that's
91%, he would still have what, $40 billion? That's absurd.
An absurd amount of money still. But like that, what's crazy about that is that, like, that's whenever like the US really started to experience its huge amounts of growth, was in the 1950s.
Post World War II manufacturing boom.
Yeah.
A victory over the Nazis was very optimistic for a lot of folks.
Mm-hmm. Like that, those tax rates are insane. I think the top marginal tax rate now is like 37%. Like, that's how much it's been eroded. That's how much it's been eroded. It's fucking ridiculous. And that's what everybody wants to go back to. They want to go back to like that huge economic growth where everybody owned a home and everything like that.
Yes.
But those times were whenever we taxed the fuck out of the rich.
Yes, exactly.
We taxed the fuck out of them assholes.
I think FDR was the reason that, I don't know if it was still 91% in the 50s, but I know it was in the 30s under FDR. I know for a fact that it was like a 90% plus for the
I know for
wealthiest.
A fact, yeah. I know for a fact that peaked at 91% in the 1950s.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Cool. I'm glad you can speak to that.
But I mean, that's just like, it's basic, like, you can literally just Google these things and look it up. Now, top marginal tax rate isn't like the exact tax rate that all those people like, actually paid. There's caveats to that and deductions and all kinds of other bullshit.
Like, and that'll take legislation over time to close those loopholes, and they'll hopefully we'll do it one day.
Yeah, but they're still taxing the fuck out of the rich, which is what we need to do.
Yep, I agree with you.
Of the world, it is government either exists to enforce that system and then try to kind of soften the consequences of it. And that is defined by the people that we send to represent us, that outcome. But I do think that people respond, and elected officials respond to those incentives, as you mentioned. Not only are they, responsive to sunlight, money isn't the only rule here. At the end of the day, people who are in Congress want to return to Congress. And the reason it's true. And then the reason that the Republicans have so much enforcement is because they're more scared of a primary than they are of a general election for multiple reasons. One, their base is highly mobilized. Their base is highly engaged. And so if you can survive a primary, their theory of change is that you will be able, for the most part, be able to survive a general election, which is, I would say, true for maybe 90 to 95% of all seats in Congress. There are very, very few swing seats left in America. Republicans and, this whole system has been gerrymandered that the number of swing seats is so low. So for everybody else, your only election is a primary election. Billionaires fuel and they fund primary challenges. Trump openly talks about that to keep everyone in line. Right. But we all do have a choice. And the more choices we have that are more representative of the changes we want to see, the better off we all are. And we're going to lose a bunch, but we're also going to win a bunch too. And I will always, always, always believe that it was always worth trying. And in fact, it's so important that we don't give up, because people do not understand. No, even if you don't see a way, because ways emerge, moments emerge. I was not supposed to get elected to Congress by any stretch of the imagination. I was insane.
You rarely hear that from a congressional leader. I was insane.
No, I mean, it's not just a cute story. I was wiping down a bar and asking people to vote for me. It wasn't like a summer job I had once. I was not supposed to win. The guy I was running against spent $3 million against me. I was getting like $2 in my paycheck once a week because I was working off tips and they take it all out. But things happen in America. Right. This is still a place of possibility.
See, the promise of the possible, and that's what gives you that feeling that the fight can pay off. But I think for the most part, that fight is you have no other option. We always talk about that idea, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. But what they don't tell you is it doesn't bend by natural forces. Gravity is not what bends that. And there are people who are bending that fucker back the other way. And it is effort. It is work. And I thank you so much for spending the time with us today. And it's really been a wonderfully invigorating conversation for me to hear your passion and to hear the fight that you have and the direction you're going in. I guess the final question is, how do you feel about the confidence that the Democrats are being honest with themselves about where they actually are, and B, have the vision and wherewithal to begin that process that you're talking about redefining it in a way that's more responsive to the people they purport to represent?
Yeah. I mean, I have a weird relationship with the Democratic Party.
Friends with benefit. Yeah, I get it. It's fine.
It's kind of like a 1 foot in, 1 foot out, right? And I think the foot out that I have is the foot that is very attuned to people. And the foot in that I have is, it's still the coalition that helps people, in my view. And it's a coalition that we all have to be part of. And so to me, I do think there's, as you mentioned, I do think that there is a little bit of this lost at sea moment happening. But as you said, I see that not as a reason for despair. I see it as a tremendous opportunity. And I've been a wrecking ball in the past. And I am also, I think that's one of the tools. So I believe in the toolbox, right? And sometimes you need a wrecking ball. Sometimes you need a hammer. Sometimes you need a wrench. And I think in this moment, it's a tremendous window of opportunity for efficacy.
Yes.
Whoever is most effective is where the momentum is going to go. And so me, I'm just trying shit out. I'm just trying shit out. And I'm just in the batting cage and I'm just waiting for a dinger. Right. And then I
got to tell you, there's so many metaphors. I don't even know what to do anymore. I've got a toolkit and a batting cage, and I don't know what the hell's happening.
That's what it's going to take, just to throw in everything at it.
All those different things. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, New York's 14th district. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again soon.
Totally. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
So he's got a little more here, but it's just him talking to his people, and it's more of John making his kind of cringy jokes. But I like I said, I kind of watched that a little bit yesterday. I just kind of had it on in the background while I was doing other shit. so I didn't really tune all in, but I could hear the energy, and I could hear, you know, some of the things they were talking about, and I just some really good based takes. Man, we as progressive Democrats, we're really lucky to have AOC.
We are.
And I mean, my God, like in whatever capacity, I don't know that she'll ever be president. She may never be, and I think that that's an okay thing. If that is the
she
way
advocates some change. Yeah.
Well, she's always going to be. She's now like going to be a permanently like just established progressively democratic voice. And I mean, there's her influence on the party will last a lifetime. I think. I really do. She's just such an influential person and leader. Humble beginnings, all that good shit. She's just great. And I thought that their talk was really good. You know, I think Jon Stewart, despite that he's, you know, maybe not as funny as he once was. I think Jon Stewart is really he's a good thought leader, and I think that he represents some of this anti-establishment type of sentiment that a lot of people feel, right? So like to have him on, or for him to have her on and to platform her and all that is it's really good, I think. And this is the type of move we need to.
Are we cooked?
These are the types of moves that we need to be seeing, I think, right? Like it's as I said, now is the time to get started on 2028, right? We've been on that timeline of working on since November 5th, huh?
Not just 2028. We gotta get ready for midterms.
Well, I know, no, obviously, I'm not putting the whatever the carriage, whatever. I'm not switching the horse on the carriage. I forget the exact term, but you know what I mean. Like I'm not putting the cart before the horse. That's what it is. But you know, in terms of as she's saying, you know, this is the time to be throwing shit against the wall to see what sticks, right? And they've, you know, this type of conversation is what I think is leading to that. But you know, while we were watching that video, we talked about, you know, trying to be optimistic that one day, you know, our generation, Gen Y, Gen Z, that one day they will be the ones to take the torch and to be the holders of power. You know, it made me think of this guy's video, Chris Valenti. You know, I've loved this guy. He's been on TikTok for a while. I don't remember, my wife is thinking that he's a teacher, and I don't recall that. If he isn't a teacher, if he isn't a history teacher, that's like what his calling was, because this guy knows history like crazy. He knows World War I, he knows World War II. This guy knows a lot. And he's very versed on, like, you know, how fascism rose in Europe and all that. Mm-hmm. So he's got a lot of commentary on things right now. And I believe this was a video he uploaded on Inauguration Day or very close to it, maybe the day after. But I thought this was very well spoken, very inspiring. So we'll kind of leave the people here in the stream on this. It's a very good video from Chris.
Cooked? How cooked are we? Are we even going to make it to 2030? Yes! Yes, we are! You want to know why I know that? Because we made it this fucking far. You think you're the first generation to think the end times are coming? You think you're the last generation to think the end times are coming? That is the most humane trait that you could possibly have. You're concerned because you love. And you know love is real because you are real. This planet, this existence, this species is about prevailing. Especially in times that are scary, suffering, misery, pain. That is part of the human condition. But you don't sit in it. You don't lament in it. You get up and you keep fucking pushing. You don't need to worry about the future not being there when it's your fucking job to create it. You are the future rulers of this nation, the future rulers of this planet. You can't sit here and ignore what's going on around you, because one day the sword will be passed to you.
There we go. I'll probably watch that MAGA video some other time, but like, I don't know, you know, like it's just, I think especially at the end, it's like, you know, don't lament or worry about the future when it is your fucking job to create it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we're like, I'm in my 30s, right? I forget that being in your 30s, despite how it feels on my body right now,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, still very young, still have plenty of time to do things, make changes, and see it through to the world. I just, man, that guy just has a way of stringing a sentence together in such a way that just creates such an inspiring sort of message. Yeah, I think that's gonna be the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? But before I read off our little mission statement and then wrap it.
No, dude. Then this was another fun one today.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was nice to watch watch a video
Positivity.
from people who aren't MAGA, who are a bit more on the positive side. You know, that definitely felt good. So yeah, we're gonna end the stream with this, everybody. If you came by and checked us out, thank you so much for coming and hanging out. I didn't see anybody in the chat, but I did see somebody was in there earlier, but it looks like he may have bailed on us, unfortunately. But I didn't see a follow notification. If you followed the stream, I really appreciate you. Actually, let me go pull that up because I definitely want to put it on there. I don't know why I don't get like good notifications from Twitch on stuff. It really pisses me off. It makes me mad. That's not what I want. Creator dashboard. Forget where I found this last time, but yeah. Doesn't look like we got any new followers today that I can tell. But if you came by, checked out the stream, if you watched the VOD, whatever, please be sure to go ahead and give us a follow. I put the YouTube and Blue Sky links for our content in the chat here. So youtube.com/@ramificationbros. And then my Blue Sky profile, which is still under my old kind of content creator name, Bungee Gum. So you should find all that there. CQC is also on Blue Sky as at CQC Master X, if I remember correctly. Otherwise,
you got it.
Cool. Otherwise, yeah, definitely subscribe to that YouTube because there will be more content going on there probably throughout the week. What I want to start doing is I think I want to put the VODs, just the whole stream, just download the VOD, throw the VOD on YouTube. You know, Why not, right? Why not? That way there's an audience that can potentially get to see it there. So our mission is that me and CQC, we've been political for many years of our lives now. We've gotten a lot of our information from mainstream and alternative media spaces over the years. And after this election, we both felt very mobilized to reach out to people to try and form a community, essentially. We ourselves are millennials. We supported the Harris Walz ticket in 2024 and Democrats down ballot because we wanted to see fascism not come to fruition in the United States. But the U.S. has voted for Donald Trump. We are actively seeing fascism in the form of his executive orders, the parts of Project 2025 he's implementing. He's putting stress on the guardrails of our democracy. And, you're watching this shit happen in real time. So we're here to shed light on that, to educate, communicate to voters, especially if you're a young man who voted for Trump and didn't maybe fully understand what exactly you were voting for. We are here for you. We may not be the softest place for you to land, but we are going to be factual and we are going to give you valuable information on what you can do to do better next time. And that's what we're here for. So thanks for coming and hanging out, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend and a great week ahead. We will see you next Sunday. Bye-bye.